welcome back to the Scaled Success Reptile Podcast here on the Clover's Reptile channel. Thanks for joining us in tonight. Tonight we got it's a pre-Daytona National Breeders Expo show, so really excited for that. This is going to be our third year going to Daytona, but our first year vending. So I'm really looking forward to that. Really cool. So if you guys are in Daytona, or heading there, make sure you guys stop by our tables. We're in the main room. I forgot our tables right now, but if you check out our Instagram, we have it posted there. We have a map and showing you guys exactly where we're at. So we're gonna have a handful of 2023 babies that we still have from last year, and then we'll have a lot of 2024 babies from this year that are ready to go to a new home. So make sure you guys check us out there. And what else we got going on? Other than that, it's been pretty quiet since the last podcast. We haven't done any shows since then. It's just been, taking care of what we have currently here and getting ready for Daytona. So this week has been already, it's only Tuesday, but it's already been really busy. So, we are really excited for that. And today we have our guest is going to be Luis Caraballo from Birds and Exotics of the World. People might say, well, it's a reptile podcast, and you have a bird guy on. But there's a backstory to him. He started in the reptile world and then led into other species. So we're going to get, deep into it with him and see how he got to where he's at now with all the birds and all the other exotics he works with. So guys, make sure you guys subscribe, like, and comment down on this video. If you guys are listening to the audio or on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, make sure you guys follow us there as well. We update it every week. Once we have a podcast, we update the audio, platforms. So if you guys are on the drive to work or on the drive to Daytona, you guys can recatch and re-listen to this podcast from tonight and all the previous ones as well. And before we say what's going on to the people in the live chats, I want to give a quick moment for our our sponsors and partnerships.
I want to take this moment to mention and thank our sponsors and partnerships. Sea Serpents is our official sponsor, known for their exceptional customer service and top quality. They offer a wide range of PVC racks and incubators designed to meet the needs of every reptile enthusiast. Their products are built with durability and efficiency in mind, ensuring your reptiles have a safe and comfortable environment. Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional breeder, Sea Serpents has the perfect solution for your growing collection. Want to take your reptile husbandry and record keeping to the next level? Use our exclusive code CLOVER60 for a free 60-day trial of Husbandry Pro, an all-in-one reptile tracking software that will streamline your reptile care routine. When it comes to shipping or receiving our reptiles, Ship Your Reptiles is our top choice. Trust them to handle your reptiles with care. Use code CLOVERS15 to save on your next shipment. Feeding your reptiles a varied diet is essential, and Reptilinks offers raw, whole prey reptile food trusted by the best zoos and keepers in the industry. Use code CLOVER to save $5 on your next order. Thank you for your support.
So, big thank you to our sponsor, Sea Serpent, Chris. Great company, Chris is a great person. And again, any sponsors or any partnerships that we have, we use all those products and equipments. So, we're recommending it to you is because we've used it and we stand by them. So let's say hi real quick to a few people that are in the live chats. We're going to Emilio Villarino Reptiles. What's going on, brother? If you guys are looking for a good, reptile group to chat and stuff like that, make sure you guys go check Villarino's Reptile on Instagram and join the chat. Casey Golf Reptiles, was our first YouTube member, so big shout out and big thank you to them. Is Bolsa Reptiles, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Always big support to us from the beginning. Anthony TNA Snakes, thanks for joining us in tonight. again, a usual supporter. So, you know, we got a lot to talk about with Luis tonight. So we're gonna, let's not take any more time and let's get him on. What's up, Luis?
Yo, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? What's up?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. It's funny because we met each other about a year ago or so, something like that. Through Eslin. We've talked a little bit here and there. But definitely want to have you on because you have a lot of experience within the reptile and animal world. Um, so I want to pick your brain a little bit about that, and just give us a quick overview of what you currently do and what animals you're working with.
Oh man, I'm on the spot. Well, I work with a wide variety of animals. I do a lot of education presentations. Some of the animals. I also do different types of TV stuff like that, shows and just anything basically has to do with animals in different parts of it. I do a little bit of everything. I don't breed as much as I used to before. I just don't have the time to just sit there and breed them, take care of the stuff, or a big collection to make it worthwhile doing it. So mostly that's why I do just the presentations, music videos, photo shoots, and stuff like that. So that's what the most that I do right now. Species that I currently work with, the birds. I have a few owls, vultures, hawks, buzzards. I'm also a falconer. So the birds keep me very busy with it. I also have some different types of like alligators, caimans,
Yeah.
crocodiles, smaller stuff. A lot of tortoises. I have a little obsession with radiated tingle at the moment right now, and my little iguanas. So
You hear that?
there's a little bit of everything that gets used for other little different things that I use.
Yeah. So, and like I mentioned in the intro, there's a reptile podcast and stuff like that. But you had your beginnings in the reptile world, correct?
Yeah. So everything started back in 1997, I believe it was late 1900s, as the kids say. and um, this everything that I do, everything that I'm doing right now was never a dream. It was never a thought. It was never a passion. I didn't even know it even existed. Just one day I was walking down by my house. I lived in Thermal Pines at the time, and I walked into a pet store that was a reptile shop. It wasn't like an all pets or pet supermarket, and I'm like, what in the world is this? Because you only see that on TV. You never see it in real life. Back in those days, there was social media wasn't around and things like that.
Mhm.
And then and I was just there, I was mesmerized and just looking around of all these crazy animals that, from watching TV, things like this thing will kill you, that thing will kill you and hurt you, and didn't know why. And then I saw this little guy walk into the shop with his jewelry, his nice little card, running the store, and I'm like, for whatever reason, I was 15 years old. I'm like, that's what I want to be, and that ended up being Craig Tillum. So you fast forward, 25 years later, and to this day, he took me under his wing. He taught me just about everything I know. I still call him dad to this day, and my daughter, that's my daughter's grandpa. And very fortunate to meet him at the time that I did in my life, because if not, it was around that age where you start dabbling with getting into trouble and
Mhm.
things like that. And the animals basically to a point saved my life in a way. I can't say saved my life, but just kept me out of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how it began. Those are the first few days. And I was that annoying kid at the pet store, lingering around like a fly, asking questions and touching things and just being a pain in the butt until, spending around time and you start figuring out different little things. And then the obsession with boas started, with red-tailed boas. That's always been my favorite reptile. And I thought that was the coolest things in the world. And that's how I started,
Yeah.
doing small little shows with Craig when I was a little kid and things like that. Going to Daytona. My first Daytona, I think, was in '99. I think it was. And, then I always dabbled different things in life, different routes, but I always kept on coming back to the animals. Always kept on coming back to the animals. That's what made me happy and stress free and just, kept my mind focus on things that were more productive than just being in the streets and doing things like that.
Yeah.
So
You
that's how I
know,
began.
that's whatever different stage during and people are in their lives, but that's a very big a common topic within like the reptile world, even animals, where the
Yeah,
animals kept you busy enough where it kept you out of trouble, or push you down this path and stuff like that.
yeah.
So
But it makes sense, I believe, because it does a lot. You have something that is not going to judge you, no matter who you are, or what you're doing, and what your thoughts are. The animal's
mhm,
never going to judge on your personal beliefs, and it gives you a reason to be around. Like that animal needs somebody to take care of it. Somebody needs to feed it. Somebody needs to spend time with it, give it enrichment. So it gives you a purpose if you're feeling down, or feel that you're not part of something, because they're gonna love you. They're gonna do what they can, or interact with you, and they're not gonna get bored. They're not gonna get tired of you for the most part. And like I said, it just gives you a reason. And
yeah,
I think when you're young and you start doing other things, is because you're looking for whatever that empty spaces. And animals, they have some power, man. They do have
yeah,
some great powers to be able to do that without being judged or asking questions.
yeah. Were you before walking into that Craig's shop and stuff like that? Were you a animal kid person,
Nope,
or
nope.
no? That was that
It
initial moment.
just it just happened. It's just a thing. My family, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
My family were farmers. I was the first. Me and my brother were the first city kids on both sides of my family, my
Hmm.
mom and dad. So everything was just like most things, fear. Snake's gonna kill you. This is gonna eat you,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everything was bad, bad, bad. Stay away from it. Um, and it was never, like I said, it was never a thing. That's the last thing that in my mind was like, I'm gonna will grow up and work with animals. Like it never crossed my mind until I started being around them and getting used to them and seeing different colors and different parts of the world, and slowly it just became a bigger part of my life.
yeah, for sure. One thing you talked about in your intro was education, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part, because talking about like your family, talking about everything can kill you and stuff like that.
Hmm.
The major thing is miseducation. You don't have
Yep.
the
Yep.
right information and stuff like that. And it seems like that's a big component of what you do today, right? And you do shows, you do education and stuff like that. um,
Yeah.
what's your approach to those people that either, especially like reptiles and stuff like that, like say I hate reptiles and stuff like that?
Well, I think a lot of it starts culturally.
Mhm.
Starts culturally. Then you have other things like religion. Adam and Eve and snake, and then you have movies that everything is slimy and everything wants to hurt you and kill you. And I think when I first meet somebody that's terrified of an animal, I always ask them, why are you scared of it? And if they cannot give me a reason, then okay, then you have to give me a chance. Same thing with food. Like my daughter. My daughter sits next to me and she looks at a plate of food and she goes ill. She doesn't like it. You're gonna try. You're gonna give me a reason why you don't like it.
Yeah.
Which it could be fair. You might have a phobia, or you had a bad experience and things like that. But we do it with other things when we give it a second chance, but some others don't. Like you could go to your favorite restaurant, you have a bad night where the food was horrible, but you're still gonna go back for the most part. So when it comes to the education of animals and meeting people that like that, um, I try to reach out why they're in that position. Once
Hmm.
I know they're in that position, then you could adjust on how you approach it. Whether you just let it be like, okay, this person is very scared. There's no reason to do this in their time, or it was from a story that somebody told them, and then they taught that to their kid, and on and on and on and on, and things like that. So every situation is different. And even some of the people teaching, like in schools, they don't know why they're telling you something. Like when the kid goes to school, oh, alligator's gonna hurt you, but why? Don't go near it. It's just gonna hurt you. But you don't teach them, like, if just have respect for it. Stay out of the way. You know that it's gonna be there. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to feed it. And then you learn to coexist with the wildlife, because we need to coexist with it. Whether you like it or not, we're gonna have to do it, because that's what makes this world go round for the most part. It's gonna be wildlife. If it wasn't for
Hmm.
bees or different animal species, me and you wouldn't be here right now.
Yep. That's
So,
true.
it goes from, okay, you have fear, that's fine, but let's at least respect it. Just like your space, you respect their space, and we both co-live without having to go around and killing every little thing or promoting hate for them when it's not really necessary. There's other ways to do it. And it took me a while for me personally, even my mom. I was a little bit of a rebel. My mom told me, you bring a snake in the house, you're not gonna be here.
Mm-hmm.
So me being a 16-year-old kid, I bought a fish tank and put a snake in there. I just dealt with my mom going nuts at me. But then after like a month, did you feed it? Did you give it water? Did you do this? Did you do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mom. Then I start teaching my mom. It doesn't eat every day. This is the water. She's not gonna drink like us that have dinner every night and drink water throughout the day. It's not a dog. It's not the normal animals that we have. And then after a time, it was like, hey, I usually back then I used to feed every Sunday. Sunday morning I'll get up and that's when I did all my deep cleaning and feed my animals because school and everything else during the week. And she'd be like, hey, it's 2:00. You haven't fed your snake. I'm like, I know, Mom. We'll feed them at night or whatever it might be. And it was cool to see that interaction of her growing with it. Yeah, the mom kicked in, but it went from being fear to like, hey, this is going to kill or hurt somebody in the house, to just be like, okay, I get it. I don't like it, but I'll tolerate it because you went in a way where it's not like, oh, it's killing things. And also, I was never that person that's like, oh, I want to see the snake kill the rat and eat it. Like, to me, it was just like, wow, I don't like watching people eat. I'm not going to watch an animal eat. You know what I mean? But that's just me personally.
Yeah.
Other people, that's their thing. They want to see the snake grab it and that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Something has to get us our attention to that particular, whatever it might be. So for me, it wasn't that. For me, it was just like how the animal is able to move with no legs, with no arms. Like, how the hell is this animal moving, killing, surviving, doing way better than me without a care in the world? And I'm here with 2 arms and 2 legs and I can't do nothing. So, just little things like that. It adds up little by little. And to this day, it's still the same thing. When I do my programs in schools and whatnot, usually the teachers are terrified of it. So I start with them because if I could control not control, but if I could get the teacher to calm down, understand what's going on, when I'm talking to the kids will look at the teacher because that's the one that spend the most time with. Like, okay, she's okay, so I shouldn't be scared. So it goes hand in hand when doing all of those things. So and that's why education is so important. With anything we do, education is so important.
Yeah.
To be able to overcome those problems.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I've done, what was it, two presentation with the hognose at my daughter's middle school, and then one at for a career day at my youngest, and same thing. A lot of kids, is gonna eat me because my parents say he's gonna eat me and stuff like that. And then at the end of the presentation, they're all lined up because they want to hold a snake.
They want to touch it or hold it, or Mom, I want one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, and then you're doing good, but at the same time, it's almost as believe as a school teacher. If you could change one person's life, you won. We won. Just one person because you never know what that kid that one day you influence just by lessening the fear, they might change the world on some problem or bring an animal back from being an endangered species or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
But you tried it, and that's everybody, I think, needs a chance to be able to understand those little things. So it goes a long way. And everybody that does it, whether you're doing it whatever way you're doing it, but if you're educating somebody, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever means of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then with the breeding aspect of it, I know you're not breeding anymore as much. What was that first animal that drew you to breeding?
Well, like I said, I grew up at a pet store from Craig, Gold Coast Reptiles. And we were a little kid. I come home from school. And back then, things were done very, very different than they're done right now. And he ran a pet store. So we would breed everything, bearded dragons, corn snakes, actually green iguanas, fight, everything. So it was more like a numbers thing. This is how much it costs. This is what you need to do it. Either you could buy it. And then it becomes economics on how much profit you have to make from different things. So you start breeding yourself to do it, and that stuff was it almost became like just like a routine of things. It wasn't like, oh my God, I need to breed this animal. That idea came later in life where it's like, I want to do a specific morph or specific species that I want to do. When I got a little older, that I started understanding more about different things. But at the beginning was like, okay, this is an egg. You're gonna put a vermiculite. It's gonna be at whatever humidity, whatever temperature, and we'll wait when it hatches. They didn't know exactly like, oh, again, 65 days is gonna start hatching, or those things were not really a thing, but we knew more or less what's going around. And I mean, Craig,
Yeah.
And you know, like I love him to death, and he was just like he just knew how to do things. And I remember one time we were breeding corn snakes, and the way we didn't have incubator, so we just put them in the kitchen, top of the cover boards. And one day, like, hey, by the way, go look in there. Maybe they're hatching. And we open it up and like, oh, snap, there's snakes.
Yeah.
You know, so and I didn't know how it worked, but I learned the birds and the bees through breeding animals. I learned genetics through animal. I didn't learn any of that stuff in school. I learned through that through the animal world. I'm like, okay, you need a male, you need a female. This is what happens. Is that babies are made. You know, all that stuff. It sounds hilarious, but I didn't have that. So I learned a lot of those things through animals, and then my daughter learned through that. So I didn't have to have that weird, uncomfortable talk. There's two redwoods fighting out there, and then we get an egg a few days later. So that helped me out a lot to, you know, to do those things like that.
You know, that's funny you say that, because we were at was it last week or the week before that? I was in Dallas with the girls, and we went to the Fort Worth Zoo. And we went into like the reptile amphibian building they have, and there was I forgot what type of frog and stuff like that there was, but my youngest, she's like, oh look, Dad, they're mating, you know, and it's not like anything crazy. It's just, you know, they're gonna make more frogs. That's simple,
that's it.
You know, and that's I think
to the
that's
point.
a really, you know, it's like so simple, like what nature really intended it, right? Like it was really cool for me to just listen to her to see that, and just keep walking about it, you know.
If it's a father, you're like, did I teach you that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you do listen when I'm doing little things, and it makes you feel good, especially like if you have a busy life and stuff, you don't sit down and have that conversation. But when they come to you, you're like, oh damn, like it's working, so I gotta do certain things a certain way. And also it may helps you put things into perspective. Like, you have to do things right, because somebody that you don't think is paying attention to you is paying attention to you.
For sure.
And that's part of the education that goes very big with it, you know. And you know, like I said, that I learned all that stuff was watching breeding animals like that, but I cannot say without a reason. That's the wrong word, but there was no goal. It was just like, okay, I need to produce.
Yeah.
You know, later on in life, like I said, then it was like, okay, I want to produce this animal and stuff, and that's just how it was for me.
So what was that point where you said, I want to produce either this animal for this morph or this combo and stuff like that?
The first time I saw an albino boa. I remember coming home from school. I was in high school, and Craig goes to me, hey, go look underneath the computer, because we had a computer room. And I walk in there and I look at it, it's a yellow snake. I'm like, okay. Back then there was a albino Burmese were all over the place. So I'm like, oh, cool, it's a Burm. He goes, no, go look at it. So I take it out, and I saw an albino boa that had just come in from, I think it was from Peter Kyle, right? So Kyle. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful animal I've seen. Like, this is ridiculous. How the hell do you do this? And then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna breed it to that one other female I had, and we're gonna have babies. They're gonna be albinos. And he's like, no. Then I learned genetics. So then once you learn that you need the heads and the codoms and stuff like that, then it was like, okay, now I need to have a plan. And then getting into that, it started feeling like, okay, I want to be able to produce, you know, bloodlines and lineage and things like that. And that came on, I don't know the exact age, but that's how I began to understanding how you produce one single animal. And all this is pre-ball pythons. So the pool of morphs were a lot smaller than it is right now. You know, right now, back then, boas had, you know, a few things. You know, a moon glow boa was like the craziest thing on earth. But how hard was it to produce it back then when you didn't know the genetics to do it? And then once I learned that, then it's like, okay, now I want to make it. And then that's how it began with that stuff. So it's through learning, education throughout time.
Yeah. And then talking about, like, you know, not knowing and not having that guideline of exact temperatures, exact, you know, dates from even the breeding process, right? Like, okay, once I, you know, breed the male and female, how long do I have, you know, these babies and stuff like that?
Exactly. It took time, and you couldn't Google it. Google didn't exist.
That's true.
So all you had to do is go to the local reptile shows and sit with people and like just start asking them questions, you know, and that's just how it was back then. I think you had a harder time but it's just because the way technology was at the particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's easy now, because right now you could get the info, but you still have to make it happen.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
still have to give the animal the maturity, the right sex, the right odds on different types of morphs. So it's still not easy. It's easier, but it's still not easy. You still have to do a long process. Back then, it just took a little longer.
Yeah.
And by a little longer, it might take you a year or 2 years more, because you had to sit there and count days. But things move so fast, just like the internet. When you were in high school, you had a beeper. Now we have cell phones that could do everything and that stuff going, and it's only been a few years.
Yep.
So, I'm grateful for that time, because it taught me the dedication and hard work, because I had no choice but to do that. So then you just get into that routine, and it just becomes, like that's just the way it is for me,
For sure, man. And it had to also be like not as more rewarding, but like different when that surprise just came to you too. Like, oh, you opened that tub and you're like, damn, I have babies now.
Exactly, because you never saw it. You only saw it during Reptile magazine. That's it. Or you see it live. If it wasn't for that, you couldn't go on 30 million websites to do it. So the gratification of seeing that you helped produce that situation, yeah, it was. But to this day, I still see an egg hatch, and it's still the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's still you can't beat it. It's just whether it happened intentionally or by mistake, you're bringing life. Even when my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, I'm like, there's no way in hell I was part of this. Like, there's no way in hell. Like, I could believe it with a snake, but me, like, no way, bro. Like, just no. It was so surreal to do it, but it was still exciting,
Yeah, man, it is for sure. And you brought up the ball python world and stuff of that. Like, you were in it before, pre crazy amount of ball pythons.
Yeah.
Do you remember that time when like from one day to another the ball pythons blowing up and like
Yeah, there used to be.
like
You have tables. So they had two fish tanks, two like 20 or 55 gallon, and you had normal balls and you had special balls, and it was just different colorations and stuff like that. But before the python craze, colubrids were just as like they are ball pythons now.
Yeah.
Not that people forget they were just not around that time, but it's always going to be something there. And I think the bigger craze here in Florida with the ball python was when the big snakes disappeared. You had to get something, and the ball python. I'm not against it. I mean, can't say I'm not against it, but I understand why it happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The smaller snake is a lot less to feed, right? You could keep a lot more in a very small space. Like I had a whole entire room, like the size of Essence hog room, and I had boas in there, and I could only fit there was like 40 boas or something like that.
Yeah.
That's it. Where in the same exact space, I could literally fit 150, 200 ball pythons and be very successful with it. So I got it. Then the demeanor, the size, and everything, it makes sense to the animal to be blown up where it is. Has it got out of hand to a certain point? Yes, but on the end of the day, we might bitch about it, but the consumer is the one that keeps it around.
Correct. Yeah, man.
So if they're still selling, they're still going to be around. So no matter how much we want to hate on it, it's still here. For how long or what's going to be the next craze, who knows? But I get it. I get it, and
it just fit all those categories that you need for pet. Ease of keeping and stuff like that. It's just the perfect animal for that.
100%. I mean, if you think about it, not that it's the right way to do it, but you have B70s. You're a kid in high school or a young person. You could have an 8-rack tub that takes the same size as your dresser, and have 10, 12 snakes and produce enough money to, depending on what you're messing with and things like that and budget wise. But there was a time where you could make, your weekend money or party around money or whatever it is, just from the animals you had there. Any other snake, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it with monitors. You couldn't do anything else. To that degree, hognoses weren't as crazy as they are right now, but colubrids were, ball pythons were. But then you go from a pool noodle thing, little skinny colubrid, to like something that has size, and it's just it's a different beast. But I get it, and I think that's why it blew up so much. And then, how easy it is how they've developed so many different morphs. That if you wanted a specific
all the imports and stuff like that from Africa, It
Exactly,
was,
and even then to import them, just think about it. How big a crate has to be for 100 adult boas compared to 100 ball python?
yeah,
You know,
for sure.
so maybe find. I mean, I don't know past that. So it maybe finding them in the wild or bring them in nowhere was a lot easier than the bigger animals. I do not have the answer for that, but to keep them and in the trade, it was definitely a lot easier to keep 5 ball pythons and keeping 2 boas in
Yeah,
the same space. You know,
yeah, yeah. And then
so
once, like you said, once the morphs started popping up, then the value of them also were more as well. So you had, you know, more
yeah, the value
value in a
came on
smaller
it.
space too.
Exactly. But then you could do whatever you want. Like I want a striped yellow and white snake.
Yeah,
Okay, you get a genetic tree stripe, you bring it to albino, and you make it happen. And it's like, oh snap, this is cool. I did exactly what I envisioned.
yeah,
You could always make it happen with them, and I think that's pretty good. But besides that, like with me, like I said, it taught me genetics. It taught me how things that I thought you had to be like some genius in school and science class and to learn it. And I was like, nah, bro, I already know how to count, but I know how to make that animal with this and this and that.
yeah.
So you still get a benefit out of it
No, for sure.
to a
I
point.
think there's a lot of life lessons that you gain with working with animals. Like you said, it's they need you to survive if you're keeping them, right? They need you to
Exactly.
survive, so you have to be there. If you're not, then your animals suffer, and you have to see
Yeah,
that happen.
it teaches you responsibility.
Yeah.
And it teaches you like you have to care for things a certain way that you cannot let it sit. So
Before the ball
it'll help
pythons,
you.
yeah, before the
Hmm.
ball pythons, what was the colubrid that you remember that was popular at that time?
I really didn't pay attention to that stuff because,
Mm,
like I said, I was in a pet store, so it was just like, okay, we just need to produce. This is what it is. Is going to produce. Yes, there were more, but it never caught my eye as the animal. Like, okay, I want to do this.
yeah.
That came with the boas, and back then, like I said, the moon glows and the snows were like, man, that's way out of my league. But I could make a hypo,
Hmm.
because it was cold down, so it'll be easy to make. So I'm like, oh snap, I did it, and then I could add this other gene to it. So it was very different for me because I never really didn't want to be a colubrid guy. Those snakes never did it for me. I appreciate them and I took care of them and I bred them, but it wasn't like I want to make this like this.
Yeah.
I have different ideas for it. It was just like, okay, we got corn snakes and we could put them in the pet store, you know,
Yeah.
and that's how I was with that. But you see them, it was a thing.
No, for sure. Yeah. And with the boas, how long did you breed them for?
I bred boys that I was serious about it about 6 years,
Okay.
and I stopped breeding them about 7 years ago, roughly
Hmm.
6 years ago when I started doing the birds. Um, I made a decision, and that's when I started really messing with them. But I never bred the one boy I always wanted to make, which was a Songo Motley. Just because the way the genetics works, the hypo and the Motley don't transfer, and then the albino is heterozygous. So it was not you had to get the right pairing to do it to make it work.
Yeah.
And by the time I was almost there, I got out of it. So I never accomplished that yet. But will it happen? One day I might get bored and just say, hey, let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
But that was like my goal with the boas was to do that.
That's
And
cool.
unfortunately, I haven't done it yet.
But like you just said, there now that you have the knowledge, you have so many years into the reptile world and exotics. Is if you want to do it, you can go and do it because you already have the base of it, right? You
Yeah.
might get bored and it's like, oh, let me just start this project, and
And
complete
and
that.
it does happen. It does happen. But now, financials are different. You're a lot older.
Hmm.
You don't have to have 30 of them to make it and things like that. So it to a point does get easy, but you still have to take care of
Hmm.
more animals. And if I cannot take care of them properly, then I'm not gonna have them just to do it and be like, oh, I did it. If it
Yeah.
was like that, I would have already done it years ago. But once things change, I was like, you know what? One day I might get that bug and be like, you know what? Let's just see if it happens. And I got a few of my guys that want me to do it because they've never seen it before, like
Hmm.
done, with the bullets and things like that. So they mess with me and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey man, I think you should go do it. Get back in it. Get back in it. Back in it. And it's in the back of my mind. But when will I pull the trigger? That's a whole different story.
Yeah. I hear that.
It will happen. It'll just take time.
Yeah. And one thing I've heard because I'm pretty new into like the breeding and deep into the reptile world and stuff like that. But one thing I've heard was that back, especially when you started, and maybe people think it was a close knit group or was guarded really tight, but maybe there just wasn't the availability to get in contact with somebody, and you like you mentioned you had Craig, right? Um,
Yeah.
have you had that opportunity already to like mentor somebody and like bring somebody under your wing in the world?
I've been very fortunate that
Mm-hmm.
I believe I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do have a few friends and few people that I've been able to mentor, but I think it's been the other way. There's people that have mentored me more than I have
Mm-hmm.
mentored themselves. You know, I have every person that I have in my life that's close to my life, I learned something from them, whether it's positive or negative, but I learned something from.
Yeah.
Um, and for people like me and like Eslin, I admire Eslin, the work ethic that man has,
Yeah.
the professionalism, the way he speaks, the way he works, the way his priorities. I admire that because I don't come close to that the way he
Mm-hmm.
does things. And I known Eslin for a very long time, and I've seen him grow, and like I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when in my position, I have done it, but not to that level because I'm all over the place. I wasn't specific to one particular species or animal and just have the success with that.
Yeah.
I've always had a little bit of everything. So when it comes to that, um, I think I admire more than I have to other people. On a personal level.
Yeah.
Now, on a business level, to doing shows and meeting people, there's people that I know right now that they got their first reptile was from. The first person I spoke to them about animals and things like that was for me, and they've grown on their own. But it wasn't like I mentored them to get there. I just gave them the opportunity to have an
Mm-hmm.
access to something. So, I don't see myself as a mentor. I'm just, I just love what I do and I do what I do. But I think there's better people to learn from on a longer basis. You know,
Yeah.
when it comes to that stuff like that, and it's just the way it is because that's how I learn.
Yeah. And that ties into the comment outdoor with Jay. He said you helped him get a hybrid snapper and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He he
Um,
he, he took a long drive for that animal.
yeah. See,
Yep.
and that's cool to see. Like down, like you said, people that maybe got the first animal from you, or you were able to connect them with a very specific animal that was maybe out their reach and stuff like that. So that's really cool to see
Hmm.
the long term of that.
Yeah.
And the connections that you make within and friendships and stuff that you make within the animal world. Because I'm not gonna say reptile because you have so many other animals. Tammy or one of our viewers says that she's seen you on Blake and Chandler's YouTube and stuff.
Yeah. Big shout out to Blake and Chandler. It's my
Yeah,
boys.
yeah, yeah. Blake's. I had mentioned I went to Blake's place the other day because he has the quails now. So
Yeah.
if you guys are looking to feed some quail and stuff like that, message Blake on Instagram, Blake's Exotic Feeders.
Yep.
And if you're gonna be in
That's
Daytona,
an
I'm
that,
pretty sure he's going up there.
Yeah, me and him will be there. We'll be there Saturday. Hit him up if you do want any quail. We're gonna bring some stuff if for pre-sales and things like that. But me and him will be there. We're driving up there together. And Blake's another person I admire, man. That kid, I met him um a few months before the big fire that happened at his place when he lost everything. I was there with him that day, and ever since then we've been pretty close. And I've seen this kid grow from that to where he is right now, man. And it's fucking impressive.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
to be that young, stay working with it, stay on it, not deter, not get influenced by different things, staying true to his heart, to his beliefs, to what he does, work his ass off. Like it's pretty cool to see that growth.
It is, man.
Pretty
And
damn cool.
going to his place and seeing the animals he has and the how he has it set up, it's very impressive. And he's we're talking that day that we stopped by, and he's majority of the time it's him working his animals and all his stuff on
Yeah,
his property.
it's
And
him. It's
yeah,
him. Like when you see what he does, it's him. There's
hmm
no outsource that takes care of his stuff, so he could do his YouTube or anything else. Like no,
hmm
it's him waking up. I've been with him out partying, get home, and he's out there feeding the animals at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, bro, I didn't wake up until 1. And that dedication and stuff like that, like it's hard to see. It doesn't happen, at least that me personally. I haven't seen it often, but he has busted his ass to get what he does. And the vision he's had, he's always said it from the beginning. I want to build Noah's Ark. And he's getting pretty damn close to it. The species he has, the variety of animals, he's busted his behind. He's guiding them. He's successful with them and stuff like that. And it's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah, man. That's really cool. And it's like you said, admiring is something to strive for one day and stuff like that. Because one day I would like to have more than just reptiles,
Yeah.
on the property and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to be able to see that at first hand and stuff. And talking about more than reptiles, like now, how did the reptiles get into the other stuff, like the birds and the other exotic animals you're
Well,
working with?
like I said, everything with me has been a mistake. Being at the right place at the right time.
Mm.
With the reptiles, I just walked into a store and met Craig, and I was like, I'm admired that dude. I'm like, holy shit. With the birds, it was similar to it. I was working at a park called Sawgrass Recreational Park, and these big cats there, leopards, panthers, bobcats, and things like that. And I stopped working there. I had left, and then the guy who ran that, Jeremy, he's like, was looking somebody to work with the animals, with the cats. I've never been like in. I never did any of that stuff. I always was just the reptiles because that's what Craig did. Craig didn't mess with cats. He didn't mess with the gators and the crocodiles and the venomous and anything crazy. It was just regular pet store, stuff like that, but in all different species. So he's like, hey, man, you want to come work, blah, blah. We negotiated. We talked. We came to terms. I'm like, yeah, I'll work. So I showed up one day. He brings all his bowls. He goes, this cat gets this cat gets this, this cat get that. And he's like, you have a show to do. Don't get bit. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean do a show and don't get bit? Like, I thought I was just going to clean poop and take care of these animals. Like, I didn't know how to go on stage and do a presentation with it.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out. And I had a crowd of people. He left. So I just went to every single cat and read the little board in front of it. And as soon as I finished that, I called Justin Igualada, which is still one of my best homies in the world. I called him up. I'm like, hey, man, can you teach me how to do shows? So he's like, all right. And he taught me how to do my first shows. And he gave me the advice on how to do them. Now, being staged, I was never scared talking to people because I did it selling animals at tables. So I had to talk to strangers all day. So I've never been shy. So it became natural to, get up there and do my talk and do whatever I can. While I was doing that, there was a bird at the time was named Flash. And it was a common buzzard that she had bad feet. And I didn't know anything about birds of prey. I didn't even look at them. I was like, bro, that's just a bird. I didn't mind it. And I was like, you know what? This bird is hurt. It was a bumblefoot that she had. Is a disease on her foot. And I had called a guy named Michael Gary, which is, I think, believes the curator of Flamingo Gardens. And he's like, yeah, she's a very old bird. This could be fatal, but here, do this, blah, blah, and good luck. So it took me about 6 months to get this bird back to health. Working with that bird through that process is how I got into the birds. That's when I'm like, oh snap, I could do this. This is pretty cool. At the same time, Justin Igualada had an owl named Bird, and I used to go to his house, and when we used to do stuff with the gators and the big venomous stuff, we'll fly his bird, and I'm like, this is pretty damn cool. And that's how I got into liking birds, and I started doing the birds. And then while all that madness is going around, this is within like a year or 2 years, everything. It didn't happen overnight. I had to do a show in Alabama. It was 30 shows, 10 days. And I had to do a show with a lion, a bear, a monkey, and some snakes in my owl. And I did the shows, and the lion wasn't working for me. He didn't want to come out. I never even seen this lion before that day. And that was going on. Now, on the other side of the fair, the show was Jimmy Riffle. Jimmy Riffle was one of the guys from the Gator Boys. And he saw me, what I was doing. He saw everything was going around. And he was the first person that's like, man, you need to do your own thing. Forget the cats, forget everything else. What do you want to do? What you want to do, and whatever. We were in a fair in Alabama, and I'm like, I like birds because it's the newest thing right now, but I really do come from a reptile of all different types of reptiles. So he goes, all right, so you like birds and you like all the exotic stuff, birds and exotics, and you do with birds and reptiles from all over the world. So the name doesn't make sense if you think about it. You know, why are the birds and exotics, but everything else is? But that's how the name came up. And then the next day, we went out down the street to some park and we took a picture of a forest, and that was my background for my banner, and that's how birds and exotics started. And then that's how I started getting more birds. And then, you know, I didn't want to step in other than my friend's feet. I know that Justin at the time was doing alligator venomous. Jimmy was doing the gators. And Jeremy was doing the big cats. So I never wanted to step on nobody's feet, but nobody around me was doing birds. So then that's how I took that upon me and be like, this is what I'm going to do because I like it. I enjoy it. It was natural. I'm having the time of my life. And that's how I started.
Yeah.
With the birds.
So, what with working with the big cats and being told, like being basically thrown to the fire with like, okay, go do a show and stuff of that.
Yeah.
How did you manage?
What I mean by a show wasn't going inside and work them and having them jump and none of that stuff.
Okay.
It was just being able to understand how they work, be able to educate somebody. It's like they're not out here to, you know, hurt you or kill you. Debunking myths, you know, just because it's black doesn't mean it's a Black Panther. That's not a real animal. Like little things like that. Which most of my education, it's like a starter education. It's more of the like myths or the bad omens on animals. Like, no, this is why it really is. It's not like how we portray them on television. Instead of going to like, you know, the anatomy of it and other stuff in it, you know, it's for a younger crowd that just little things that just debunks myths, basically.
Okay. Yeah, very basic information and stuff like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then now going to the Alabama show, were you actually working those animals there? Like the lion and stuff like that? Before that,
well,
did you have like hands-on like training with animals and stuff?
Not at all. But the lion, I was working the lion from outside the cage. I wasn't in there. I was never like 6 feet Roy working the animal. I never did that with them. I was outside. And again, you know, the lion will walk around, he'll walk with me, and you talk about, you know, the males and the females and how they are and the pride, and they don't live in a jungle. They're not the keys of the jungle and little things like that. And that's what it was with that animal. You know, with other ones, I'll go in there and do different things with them. But with the big cats, I never had them jump around. I never had them do things like that. You know, I left that to other people. Like Felicia, Team Tiger Mom, she's a good friend of mine. So that's the first time I saw a tiger show was her show at the same fair. And Jeremy had the big cats and stuff like that. So those are the people that I got introduced with the first time with the big cats.
That's cool. Around what year was this? Do you remember? Like early 2000s, mid 2000s?
Mid 2000s.
Mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 2024, so like 2012, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about 12, 13 years ago.
That's you know, going from reptiles to bigger animals and stuff like that. Was it like a culture shock, a different, you know, different
No, to me it wasn't, because I like to observe. So to a point, you're dealing with observation on that animal's personality. Mm-hmm. You know, you do it too without consciously knowing you do it. When you open that bin or that cage for your animal and you see them a certain posture, you know it's like, I'm going to get bit. Yep. Maybe not right now. So that's what has kept me from being hurt, seriously hurt for most of the times, because if I feel that energy's not there, the animal's acting a little weird, it's almost like your wife. You're not going to start joking with her. You just walk around, all right, babe, I'll see you in 5 minutes when you come out. The same thing with them. And that's what those guys showed me. You know, if you get the hunch, just back away. Nothing has to be done. You know, there's nothing that's like, okay, I'm going to put myself in harm's way or the animal's way. So culture shock, meaning it's a different animal. It thinks differently, does different things. Yes, it was. But for the most part, you're breeding behavior to see what you could do and what you can do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Yeah. And that was the part, you know, with it. I've never been a mammal guy, even with dogs and cats and things like that. Like, I have my dogs, but I've never been a person that likes to like wake up 10 times a day to bottle feed a dog or a cat or anything else like that. So it was like an experience. And at that time, that was the only way I was going to get it. Whether I had to work for free or pick up crap or just travel for free just to learn how to do it. Because when it came to the showman stuff, I thought you had to be like somebody up there. You had to be like, Jeff Corwin or those guys that you see on TV, and they're like, oh, this guy's a biologist, or that's MD, and this other crap. And I'm like, I'm still in high school, or I'm didn't go to college for that. Like, there's no way in hell I could do that. But once I started doing it, then all my peers around me were like, yeah, we didn't go to college either, but we're good at what you do because you study it and you go on from it. So it was a shock to a point, but at the rest of the time was just, you're just learning how the animal behaves. That way, when you talk to people about it, you're not lying. You can explain to them, if he does this, isn't bad, just back away. It's not all fun and games. There's more than the 5-minute skit you see on TV or whatnot on it.
Yeah.
And that's what's protected me from getting hurt too. If I have a hinge, I just don't do it. That's it. It's simple.
Yeah. I think that's important. Like, it's respecting the animals, space and understanding behavior.
Yeah.
Now with the birds and stuff like that, once you decided, okay, I'm gonna do the birds, what was the next step you took?
The next step I took is, what am I gonna do? Like, what is it gonna be? Am I gonna do the birds and make this a living, or am I still gonna be trying to find a real job and try to do a million things at the same time? And then you start getting overwhelmed. Birds are expensive. They're very expensive. And to take care of them is very expensive. They eat every single day. One of my owls, Leonidas, he eats a medium rat every single day. So it does get expensive. So, and then you have to train those animals and spend time with them to do the things I wanted to do. Compared to the breeding where I don't have to do that. I could deal with a mean snake every single day because I know I'm just going to use it X amount of times to take it out, clean everything else, and put it back in. So when that time came, then I'm like, you know what? This could be something. Which was actually, Jimmy said, listen, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna find your name. You're gonna do this. I hope you get on the road and things like that. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna do the birds. And in order to fund the birds, I sold my boa collection to be able to get to the level. So I had to make one sacrifice to start a different sacrifice to do it. And I still wouldn't change a thing about it. It worked out. I'm happy. No, I wouldn't change anything. The experience of, listen, these birds have doing things to these birds and these animals, not just the birds, but just being with these people and doing the shows and traveling. I've been so damn lucky to travel the world. I've traveled everywhere to a lot of different places, seen amazing things. I've met amazing people, and all came through this. So I wouldn't change it because I know I wouldn't be in those same positions. So it was a decision I made. I'm happy with it. I'm rolling with it. And I'm happy with it.
Was it the owl was the first bird you started working with?
It was the first bird that I messed with Justin had, and then was Amelia, the common buzzard that I had. So it was a hawk. Those are the two first birds that I got, that I was with and I had, and I worked with them. Now, to obtain these animals is very hard because nobody gives you that information. Like, oh, here, go buy this owl, go buy this, and go do this. So it took a long time to be able to get into those circles to be able to do that. So when I got the birds, it was what was available and I could afford. So that was available was Leonidas that I got him. And, even his name, I was watching 300, the movie 300, when I got the call, hey, he's born. We're going to be able to sell it to you. So that's how he got his name, Leonidas. There was other birds around. There was Einstein, there was Bird, there was Achilles and Athena, there's God names and everything. And then most people think it's me trying to keep up with them. I was like, nah, bro, it came straight from the movie of 300. My second bird is Caesar, which is an auger buzzard. And same thing with him. When I got the call, hey, we're going to be able to make this happen for you, we were eating Little Caesars. So that's how I got his name. So I got Leonidas and Caesar, but it came from a movie and cheap pizza.
That's cool.
Amelia, the buzzard, like I said at the beginning, her name was Flash when she first started doing things in the late 90s. When I got to be with her, she had a broken wing. So I named her Amelia because Amelia Earhart can't fly either. That's how she got her name. So it's like little funny things like that it seems more than it is, but that's how they got their names. And I got the opportunity to be able to acquire those animals like that. Now it's different, but back then that's how I was able to do it. Yeah. So there was never a goal like I want this specific bird. I still have my dream birds that I want to get to a point, but this stuff that I have is things that I was able to acquire, and I enjoyed it, and I was able to put it into my life, and it's worked out.
Yeah. Now, training the birds and learning behavior. Did you? It was it just day by day? You just observing the animals and stuff like that.
Observing the animals, and I had help from a guy named Simon Rouse. Simon Rouse, I had met him through Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know anything about birds, and it was hard for me to get information from people about how to fly them, how to work them, and stuff like that. It was very closed circuit, and we had snakes in common, and that's how we I think believe we found each other to some Facebook groups like retic groups back then because he could have them over there. And one day he posted a picture of a bird. I'm like, oh snap, I like birds too. I have an owl. And then I found out he had a whole entire crazy bird operation that he did over there. And it was still difficult for me to having birds because the people I was learning birds from are also reptile people. So that was before falconry and any of that stuff. And and I told him one day, man, I can't find information. I can't get nobody help me. And I remember to this day, he goes, fuck this American cunts. I'll teach you. And I'm like, okay. So through Facebook Messenger, he'll teach me, hey, this is how you pick up your bird. This is how you grab it. This is how you present the show. This is how you do it and structure and stuff like that. And he helped me to do all that stuff without ever meeting him, shaking his hand or nothing. And my vulture's named Simon too, because of him, because they're both bald. So that's how he got his name. But that's how I learned before I started meeting more people down here that work with birds, and they start teaching me a little more, like Steve Hottie and Del McCullough, and then my mentor with Birds of Prey, Terry Arg. He's in Orlando. I wouldn't be here with the birds without him. He's taught me a lot with him. So it was just, again, just being in the right place at the right time, sticking with it, networking, and finding people to be able to mentor me and put me where I'm at right now. I wouldn't be able to without any. If one of those people would not be in the position at the time that I met him, I probably wouldn't be here right now speaking to you about this stuff. So it just happened to happen like that. I've been very lucky.
You know, with when we think about Florida, a lot of times, we think about reptiles. Florida has always been like a big hub for reptiles and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it similar for like the birds and other exotic animals?
It depends on where you're at, depending on what you like. There is a community for everything. The thing with Florida is that everybody thinks Florida man and everything is Florida because it happens a lot. But we got to understand, you could drive within 2 hours from Homestead to Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a big area.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to Dallas and drive 2 hours each way, and you're still in Dallas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go to New York, it's the same thing. California, you could drive 3 hours from LA, and you're still in LA. So it's like everything is more to a point concentrated because it's smaller. So everything seems to people like, oh, everything is easy, and it's also overwhelming how many people do the same exact thing in the same neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So once you find what you like and stuff like that, you just got to find the community of people where they're at, and then just if you really want to do it, you travel, you drive, you do whatever you got to do to get there. But that's how I found the cats. And then later on in life, I found, I met Dexter Osborne, and I started going on the road with him with the grizzly bears. I was on the road with him for 2.5 years, and he taught me road life like nobody else has. It's still, that's my boy right there, Dexter. I love that man to death. But again, we met at a Gator wrestling competition. He didn't have a room. He was with his son. I'm like, hey man, we know a bunch of the same people. Come, you can stay over here. And we've been great friends ever since, And he's another person that I admire to the fullest. So if anybody wants to see grizzly bears, the Grizzly Ranch in Alabama, and you literally stay at Airbnb 15 feet away from full-grown grizzlies, and you can just sit there watching play. It's the craziest thing in the world. It's amazing. But I got to do that. Again, never a dream, never a thing, but I happened to meet somebody. It intrigued me. I kept on bothering and getting to the waist, and I got on the road with him, and I was able to have that experience. So in Florida, just depending what you want, there's a little bit of everything for every type of animal species. There's 2 or 3 elephant sanctuaries in Florida. Mm-hmm. People don't realize like, yeah, we have elephants here in Florida, and you have the big tigers, and you have your snakes, and you have your big gators. There's just a little bit of everything, just what you really want to do, and you can find it.
Yeah. because there's such a niche for every specific species and like animal and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like
Yeah.
within the reptile world, we have our own little groups of every
Yeah.
the hognose, the boas, the ball pythons. Everybody
Exactly.
collects together and helps each other out for the most part. Um,
Yeah. The
and
only difference that I would say with that is that when it comes to mammals, there's more physical work.
mhm,
Like if I was breeding hognoses, I could have a conversation with you all day long, and you could teach me how to properly take care of them, breed them, and everything like that. Like this, we're doing it right
yep,
now.
yeah,
You can't do that with a tiger. You can't do that with a bear. So it's not easier at all, but it's just different ways where you have to approach it.
hmm
And if, like I said, if you really want it and you educate yourself, it could be done. But yeah, there's different cliques and with everything else in the world, and we all get together once a year in Daytona.
that's right. Yeah, man. Yeah.
You
Did you
know,
ever get to meet in person that guy that taught you about the birds and stuff?
Seven Rounds. No, I never got to meet him in person. Unfortunately, about 3 years ago, he decided not to be here with us any longer. So
Damn.
I never got to meet him. I never got to shake his hand.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's a wild way to learn through Facebook Messenger and stuff like that. And that's pretty cool to see that. You know, like you were talking about. Now we have, you probably can Google a lot
Yeah,
of
you go
this
to
stuff
YouTube and
now
you can learn how to
on
build a
YouTube.
car. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, it seems easier, but it's still you still have to dedicate your time. So
hmm
the access is easier, but it's still just as difficult to accomplish whatever goal you have because you still have to put 100% into it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's where it differentiates from back then. Well, it'll take me, you know, let's say 15, 20 years ago, it'll take you to actually see somebody in person at a show that has something you like in order to ask questions because there was no internet compared to now where you could Google it. But again, you have to put the time in and really want to do it to it. So it is
Yeah.
there's big differences, different obstacles, but you can still accomplish it.
Yeah. For
Even
sure.
with the birds, the birds is anybody could do it. I'm not special. Anybody could do it, but you have to dedicate yourself to it. And it's gonna hurt sometimes, but
Yeah.
still love it.
What's currently how many birds species, I guess, right? Do you work with or do you keep?
Well, right now I have 5 different species of owls. I have 4 different species of hawks and 1 species of vulture between exotics and natives.
hmm
So we do have different birds, and they're all like different tools, different applications that we use them for. Some are for hunting, or falconry birds. We go out hunting with them. Usually, our red-tailed hawks or our Harris hawks. We do that. We do abatement. We usually use our Harris hawks. For my presentations, I use the rest of the birds, the vulture, and things like that. So they all have their own little job for a different tool for a different job, basically.
Yeah, and then
Hmm.
with these animals, you said you have to maintain them basically every day. You got to feed them, all that stuff.
Every single day,
Um,
yep.
Maintaining those animals. What is your daily routine like with them?
Well, I wake up in the morning, I go to my backyard, and I start getting yelled at by Caesar. First thing in the morning, he wakes you up, and you got to change their water, make sure they have clean water, make sure the enclosures are safe, make sure there's not a lot of weeds and grass, and maintaining a large enclosure. Checking the bird's health, make sure that nothing got in overnight, or you never know what happens when nobody's around. You check
Mhm.
what is going on, and then you get their food prepared for them. And then after that, it's like what jobs you have coming up. If I have a photo shoot, let's say with Leonidas, that I need to make sure that he's proper. He has the equipment is still fresh, nothing is broken. The gloves and all that stuff is presentable. And if we had to fly, you got to make sure that they're ready to fly with their weights and different little things like that in different environments. So it just depends. Every day is not the same. It just depends on what you're doing. Sometimes,
Mhm.
this week pre-Daytona, I'm just been chilling. I've been having not much to do, so just been just feeding them and hanging out. But last month was different. We had a lot of presentations and education things, so we had to make sure the birds were a little, ready to do their job they have to do. So
Mhm.
it all depends. It all depends. It's never the same. But it's not too crazy time consuming once you get the routine up. It's like with the snakes. When you first get them, you're like, oh my god, I got 30 snakes to clean.
Yeah.
After a few months, you're like, oh, it's just 30. I could do it in 10 minutes. If you have to do it faster, so it's the same exact thing, just a different animal,
Okay.
just depending on what you got to do. And
Yeah.
every day you got to weigh them, make sure they're weight, make sure they're healthy, and things like that. So little things like that, but depending on what we're doing that particular day or week or month or whatever it is.
Have you gotten into breeding the birds, or you just
No,
no?
no, I don't breed them. I probably will never breed them. I don't care for it.
Hmm.
Um, because once I start breeding them, most of these animals have to build a bond, and you
Hmm.
cannot gonna take one to go do a school presentation and come back and think it's gonna go there and you're gonna have babies, and then you just have more mouths to feed. So I don't, I don't want to do it. I don't think it's necessary for them and stuff like that. So it's not a thought or something that I really want to do. I have
Yeah.
what I have, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah. So with people that generally do people stick to breeding, those birds, and then people do like the shows and presentations, or is there a mixture in between both?
Every situation is different. Some people do want to breed them, and they do breed them and do shows like rent
Hmm.
fairs and things like that, or a lot of education. So it just depending on how deep you want to get into that business or how much work you want to do with it. So it all depends what your motives are with it. You know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in some cases, these are also animals that people want them because they want the attention from it.
Mm.
And they're a bird of prey that don't care about you, and they're a bird of prey. So
Yeah.
it's not. Things might happen, and then people then start getting discouraged. Like, man, this thing eats a lot. It's grabbed me a few times. It hurts. It could fly away. A snake, you could catch it.
Yeah.
That bird takes off, and if you're not conditioned or knowing what to do, that bird is gone. See you later. Here, there goes, $5, 10, $15,000 at the door, and you're just sitting there watching it.
That's wild.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it gets crazy. So it's all depends on what's the reason you want to do it.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, without animals, whatever movie's popular, you're gonna have a problem with that animal. Just the way it is, you
Hmm.
know. And that's just the way it is. When something pops. When I was younger, everybody wanted a Dalmatian or Beethoven. They wanted to see
Yeah.
binoculars. That's all we saw in
Yeah.
movies. When you get older, everybody wanted Finding Nemo. Everybody wants a
Hmm.
clownfish, or you want King Julian. They want a lemur and things like that. So, um, look what happens in Easter
Yeah. All the
with
bunnies.
rabbits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody,
All the
no,
rabbits.
you don't want that.
Yeah.
But you want to be cool, like, oh, I got a little rabbit. They didn't
Yeah.
even lay eggs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like I tell everybody, if you want an animal, just do your research, do what you can. There is exceptions sometimes if you're really into that life, but if it's going to be just a pet or something, like, just do a little research and understand that the animal's going to live for a long time. This is what you need to do to take care of it, whether it's permits and things like that, and
Mhm.
then move forward. Not just like, oh, I like it, I got the money, let me just buy it and figure it out. It doesn't end well most of the time.
And talking about that, like, what is the rules or stuff of that? At least here in Florida, with like keeping birds of prey and stuff like that, can somebody just go buy one if they have the cash to do it?
To find first is finding the animal. It
Hmm.
becomes a different thing, and then depending on the species, they're either federally protected or they're not. So you have to be a rehab or a falconer or some other means to get them. So there's different process and different levels depending on what things you want to do, and those are the things that you personally have to go out there and research and figure out what are the boundaries or how far you want to get into it to get that thing. It's not going to be a parrot.
Yeah.
They're not going to come up to you, fly across like, I'm going to give you love and kiss you and miss you. Like, no, they don't want.
Yeah.
So that's part of the research on of what you could have with whatever different permits it have and qualifications and things like that.
Gotcha.
So
Do you with the birds of prey, especially because they have to have like a drive, right? Like, like we talk
hmm
about, like the Malinois and stuff like that, that they have to, they have that work drive. Is
yeah, I got one
similar
here.
to
It's the craziest thing in the world.
you do
I
have
just got one. I just got one. It's the craziest thing in the world.
That's funny.
He's a trip, but basically is you use like most animals, positive reinforcements with food.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
it. If they're too hungry, they're not gonna work right. If they're not hungry, and it's not hungry, but if they're not in a hunting mode,
Hmm.
you're not gonna perform. Me and you will go to a buffet, eat, then we just want to go home and go to sleep.
Yeah.
But if we're too hungry, we're not gonna have enough energy to do something. So you find that balance, and that's how you learn through your mentors and your experience with them to find that balance to figure out what you want to do, whether it's hunting or just 5 point A to point B, and so on and so on. So it's all reinforcement. It's not going to be like a dog. You're not going to put a bird in timeout. You're not going to use a little water bottle like your cat jumps in the couch. That's not going to work. You just build a fear with an animal, and then he's never going to go near you. Everything is going to be freaking out. So that
Gotcha.
comes with experience. That you could
Yeah.
say until you're blue in the face, but until you see it in person and deal with it, then you understand more how that particular part works with it.
Yeah.
And they're doing what they're naturally to do. They're doing something that you're naturally they'll be doing in the wild. They will be looking for prey. They will be looking for what they're going to do. They're going to be fun. They're going to get away from predators or things like that. So you just use that to your advantage.
Mm. Yeah. And, and with, the success that people have with animals or anything you do in life, there's also failures and those moments you're like, damn,
Oh yeah,
should I be doing this? Have you had those? And like, working with the birds and or the exotic animals?
oh yeah. There's been times where you're like, I'm gonna, you get down on yourself for whatever reason. And you're like, man, I want to get a real job. Just clock your 9 to 5
Right.
and not worry about something. But you have animals as well, so that it's like somebody calls you like, hey man, let's go to Mexico for a week and go herping or whatever. Like I can't. I got
Yeah.
nobody to take care of my animals and
Yep.
stuff like that. More than the kid, because I could find a babysitter for the kid. We're not gonna find a babysitter for these animals
Yeah.
that you trust and things like that. You have people, but then you have to know, like, financially or anything that might be coming to it. Like, is it, can I do it? So yeah, there's been times. Doesn't happen often. Usually when you either have a bad show or you just, those days that we just don't feel too energy to do things. You're like, man, this is rough. But
Hmm.
that's what you sign up for. So it's not a surprise.
Hmm. Have you had
It's like
any one bird like you had a hard time like with I guess not because I wouldn't even say you don't train them, you
no,
handle
I
them,
do
right?
train them, but yeah, no, I've had birds that was like, man, I'm gonna make this guy fried chicken.
Yeah.
I had my second falconry bird. I had a red tail hawk, and this bird taught me patience. Like, she didn't want to do anything, no matter what I was trying to do to get her to fly to me or to do anything. She just wouldn't do it, and it took a long time, and it took a lot of it took a lot of dedication to be like, okay, you need to just breathe and just keep at it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. And then one day out of nowhere, she started doing it, and you're like, okay. And then we just ran from there.
Yeah.
But it's happened. It definitely has happened, and that's what keeps you humble. When everything is going great, and then one animal challenges you because you do the same exact thing you already set in your ways. Mother Nature like slaps you a little bit. It's like, nope. It's time to re-engage because you're getting too comfortable. You're getting too loose with it, and then
Hmm.
you get checked, and then that's up to you to understand that you're doing something wrong, or just you're dealing just like humans. Personality, relationships don't work, friendships don't work just because of their personality. Same thing happens with some animals.
Yeah.
So those are the hurdles you got to overcome, but that's what makes you better, I believe. If you can overcome it and still succeed with it, it's like, okay, that's more experience that you have for the next time. When you're teaching somebody something, you're able to do it without getting frustrated because you went through it, and then you
Hmm.
help the next person out. They don't have to go through it, and they're going to go through their own trials and tribulations. So it has happened. It doesn't happen often, but it's part of life. With anything that we do, it's going to happen when you're like, man, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this sucks. But most of the time, you're like, it's pretty
Yeah,
badass.
yeah, man. And I think it's just seeing how you can overcome and you know get that past that moment, because if you let that moment take a hold of you, then you won't accomplish anything in life really, because there's, like you said,
No,
there's multiple
you
parts of
won't,
life.
and yeah, exactly. But that's what makes us better people, I
Hmm.
believe.
Hmm.
Those little trials and tribulations is what makes us grow. As once you get to adult, most times we stop growing until something bad happens. But there's a lot of lessons before that happens that you can start learning yourself to prepare for that situation, or just be able to adjust and deal with that situation. Might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it humbles you, man. It humbles you, and the way these animals humble you, it sucks. you know, they grab you with their feet, and you're like, oh man, nobody makes me bleed my own blood but you.
Yeah, that's wild. With the birds and stuff like that, like you know, like you're saying with the snakes and stuff like that, you have those days of okay, I don't gotta mess with it today, or if it's not in the mood and stuff. You ever have birds like, like you were talking about, like one day it's fine, and the next day is like I'm not doing nothing. I don't want to be touched. I don't want to
Yeah.
be handled.
No, it happens.
And
It happens.
with
Different
that,
times of
is it
year.
okay?
Different times of year. Like when they're molting, they're changing out their feathers. They're not going to be as active, and you don't want to really mess with them a lot. You want them to get all the food and nutrients and things like
Mm,
that. So there's some days where things happen, but then the fun of it is figure out why it's happened.
mhm.
Why it's happening. It was spooked, or this thing. Like one time I had a bird that wouldn't come to me, and I never wear bright color shirts at that time. I always wear my birds and exotic clothes or whatever. So it was all dark shirts. One day I decided just to go fly it in a bright color shirt, and then the bird wouldn't come to me. Wouldn't come to me to save his life. And then a gentleman named Steve Hottie that's been around since like 3 days before the beginning of time. He's old as dirt. He was like, "Hey, man, go change your shirt to what you normally wear." I'm like, all right. I did it. 2 seconds, that bird is on me. So it's like, okay, that's why I was not going. I had another time where Caesar didn't want to fly, and I had no clue why he wasn't flying. Everything was perfect. The wind, everything was good. And we figured out like an hour later when there was another hawk not too far away, and he was like, this is his territory, basically. I'm not going to do anything.
Mm,
So it's just figuring out why things are happening. It's just like, when your kid's upset, it's like, why are you crying? Why is it getting you
yeah,
mad? And that whole nothing, I'm fine. Like, that doesn't work. There's something wrong with you. I didn't just meet you right now. And that's, like I said, those are the little things that humble you and keep you like always staying alert and figure out problem solving with whatever situation might come.
yeah. And with are these birds territorial and stuff like that in general, or are they? It
It
depends.
depends. Like Leonidas, when you go out, his cage is his home.
Mm,
I go in there, I have to, handle him a certain way to get him out. Once he's out,
he's chill.
I mean, your daughters to hold them,
Yeah.
but it's just sometimes they are. Sometimes if they're very territorial over their food, you're not going to go in there and just grab the rat from them. That's not going
Mm,
to happen. But they have their ways, they have their things. They know what spot they want to be in. They're they have their own. They could think
mhm,
basically.
yeah.
Not too aggressive where you're gonna come after you and things like that. Sometimes it does, like the hunting birds can.
Mhm,
But then again, you're doing something to activate that problem. You should have a better relationship with your bird where you could be able to go there confidently without him trying to kill you every single time you go in there. You don't have that bond.
yeah.
So every situation is a little different.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite bird?
That's the golden question. It depends, man. It depends. Like Leonidas, Leo is always going to be my wingman. He's been my wingman for the beginning, and he's always going to be, he's always going to be my number one. But
Mm,
all of them they do different things. They've been able to accomplish different things, so they all have like their own little thing that I enjoy. I might enjoy the way this one flies, the way it looks more than that one, and just nitpicking if you have to. But
yeah.
it's like when parents lie and say, "I don't have a favorite kid."
It's
You
true.
have to
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, let's be real, bro.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with them. Yep.
Yeah. That's funny. Do you
Yeah.
and building bonds because do you have to build bonds and stuff like that with these animals?
Of
Or
course,
can
because
anybody
remember,
just go and work it once it's trained?
well, yes and no. You still have to build a bond because that animal cannot fear you. It will
Mm,
want to come to you when you're offering to do what you can. So you do have
mm,
to build some type of bond where it's like, okay, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna, take something from you and things like that. So you do have to have a bond to a point. But the bond is not like your dog
mm.
loyalty bond. That
Okay.
when these birds are flying, no matter how loyalty you have or what bond you have, he has every single opportunity to fly away from you. There's nothing holding him. So that's where it comes when you have that mutual respect. Like we're a team. We're gonna go hunt together. We're working together. We're gonna eat together. We're gonna defend it. Things like that.
Yeah.
Compared to like when most people think of a bond, it's like, oh, he's gonna miss you when you come home and give you a
Yeah.
hug and things like that. I always tell people, I love him. He tolerates me. If I don't show up today, he's not gonna lose any sleep. Like, who the hell is gonna feed me?
Yeah.
He
That's
doesn't
that's
show up. Whole different ballgame. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's just the way that those things are. Now with the mammals, a little different. Obviously, those guys you build bond. They know who you are, and
Hmm.
I mean these guys know who they are. I mean, You go, but you come to my house and see him, and it's gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna go near you because he doesn't know who you are. You look different. You're wearing something different than what I am. But they're so intelligent. I say there's no such thing as a dumb animal. They
Mhm.
might do dumb things because we think they're doing dumb things, but when we realize they're doing dumb things, it's something that's not natural. See what I mean? But they could survive without Google.
Yeah.
Me and you are going to call mom or our wives. Hey, man, can you make me some rice? Because I'm really hungry. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think intelligence is more than just a trick. It's being able to survive, and they all could do it.
Yeah. It's like in humans, like we say, like common sense. It's really survival, or like our bodies
Yeah,
overtaking our brain of and
yeah. But
animals have
what
the
is
same
common
thing.
sense? But what is common sense if you've never been taught?
Yeah.
Common sense means don't run in the middle of the street. But if you never, as a kid, told them look both ways, what is
Yeah.
common? You know what I'm saying? So you
Yep.
still have to
Yep.
learn that. You
You
know,
do. Yeah. With
for
these
the most
animals,
things, you
just
still have to learn them.
yeah. With these animals, just their instinct, right? Of
They're
survival, of
just
just
born.
being.
Yeah. How does a snake come out of the egg with no parenting and knows how to live for 20 years?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When we were 20 years old, we didn't know how to live 20 years.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's like they already
Yeah.
have that knowledge, which is amazing. It's already downloaded. This is pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, man, for sure. And so with that, like me thinking, like, okay, if I go get a bird, or if I work with birds, like that first time letting that a bird fly on its own and fly away from you, how
Scariest
was
thing in the
that?
world. That was the scariest thing in the world, bro. It was so scary. I remember. Well, when I first did it with somebody else, I was with Justin, and he was flying his favorite. So I was like, oh yeah, we could do it, you know. And when I got Leonidas, I was flying him everywhere. I'll go to Blows and I go down the aisle and I fly him. I used to fly Leo in Repticons back in the days, and I used to fly him right in front of Jay Eaton's table just to piss him off. He was a good friend of mine, but I used to bother him, and I had the crowd. So I used to do things like that. I didn't know any better. I had nobody. I just knew that if I called him and I did something, he was going to come to me. Once I learned the proper way of doing it, then I started getting more brave and going longer distances and going out in the woods or the streets or parks. The first time that bird doesn't do what you think he's going to do, you got to change your shorts. It
Yeah,
becomes very
yeah,
scary. But if you do everything right with things like that, you get your bird back. Knock on wood, I haven't lost a bird. Um, the longest I ever lost a bird was probably 30 minutes, and that's
okay,
because I couldn't get to it. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And then from showbirds to like when you're doing the shows like I do to falconry, it's two different things. Because when you're doing falconry, your bird is hunting and you're his teammate to go catch whatever game it is.
mm-hmm.
So he's looking all over the place. He's gonna fly somewhere and blah blah blah. When you're doing the show things, that bird is looking at you because he's gonna go from point A to point B. So it's
Mm-hmm.
different things. So and that's how I started. So when I came to falconry and that bird was doing his thing, I'm like, this guy's gonna fly away. He doesn't care about me. And
Yeah,
thankfully, knock on wood, I have my mentors around me to be like, no, you're good, man. Just keep on walking, and he's gonna follow you. And then you guys build a bond, and you got to learn. Both of you got to learn how you both work. And it's adrenaline rush. It's still, I wouldn't say scary, but you're like, this could be a long day, or it could be an amazing day. So time will tell. But if you do everything right, odds are things will go good. But the universe is the universe. Things could always happen.
yeah. And falconry, like thinking about like in history, they've done it forever, right? Like with the hunting falcons and stuff like
Oh,
that.
it's been happening for 1,000 years. There's falconry mummies in the what's it called in Egypt.
Yeah.
The Mongolian people in Asia for
Mm-hmm.
thousands of years. It was part of being able to fend for them, find food. They didn't have long range rifles, and an arrow could only go so much. But you could train your eagle to go get that fox that's half a mile away, and then you have fur to keep warm, and you have food for yourself and your family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what falconry, at the beginnings of it was meant to be able to
Survive.
survive.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been with him. It's been a team for thousands of years, for a very, very long time.
Yeah. Do you think with animals that lineage, or that is there lineage of like animals like birds and stuff like that? Like this
Oh,
animal, this bird came from
100%,
this like
man.
that.
If you go to the Middle East, there's
Yeah.
there's $1 million falcons out there. Like just like we're in the reptile world, there's
Mm-hmm.
there's people like that all over the world that have like these bloodlines are specific size, speed, color, aggressiveness. Oh, 100%, 100%. I'm nowhere near that or
Yeah.
part of that world. That's way past my pay grade, but it's 100% there. Oh yeah, there's some birds out there that just like you have a hog nose that goes for $50, and this one that goes for
Yeah.
$10,000. There's a falcon that's for a few hundred to, like I said, $1 million. And everybody's seen those pictures on those memes and stuff where those kings are in Saudi Arabia where they hire a whole plane just to bring the
Yeah.
falcons. That's all true. Their buildings to train how to fly those things are. You think an Amazon building is big? All that's true. There's stuff like that, big money things and bloodlines and royalty and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
interesting. With and you're a falconer, right?
Yeah.
What's that consist of, and like how did you become is there like a association or some of that, or like how does that work?
Well, you have to. It doesn't go by hours like we have our class 1 or class 2 with the
Okay.
mammals and reptiles over there. It goes by time,
Mm.
not by hours. What I mean by that is like you need at least 2 hours as an apprentice. 2 years. I'm sorry, 2 years as an apprentice to become a falconer and have a sponsor to sponsor you for those 2 years. Then he'll dictate and say, okay, you're good enough to do it on your own. He
Mhm.
signs off, and then you get your falconing permit. But you still need to take a test through FWC. It's governed by U.S. Fish and Game. Um, and then once you take your test and you pass your test, you find your sponsor that's willing to take 2 years of his life to give it to you to teach you everything that you need to know to be successful with it. So it is a process. It took me a long time to do it. So, I went a different route to try to avoid it because I didn't really want to do the hunting part at that time.
Mhm.
But then I was able to make it happen. Thankfully, I met up with Terry through Don, and he sponsored me, and it's been up from there.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Um.
and Terry does a falconry classes, and we call it a class, but it's like what's it called? It's falconry. You get to fly birds, and he'll teach you how to do that stuff. And he's in Orlando, so if you want to go out there and learn the history of falconry and fly birds in the wild and stuff, he'll be the man to do it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's cool. Yeah, because I think any animal and stuff like that, it draws my attention, stuff like that. But I that's really, I think, really cool. Thing to be able to do. Manage these animals and be a falconer. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure there's somebody that's going to come across this conversation one day and it's like, man, how do I do it? What's the process and stuff like that.
Well, the process is beginning. You start doing research, and you really want to do it. You,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot do it because I want to take a cool picture,
Mm-hmm.
and you could do that. For that, just make a phone call and we'll do it. You can take all the pictures you want.
That's right.
But it is a lifestyle. It becomes part of what you have to do. Hunting season is during the winter,
Mm.
so leaving town for a month to go spend Thanksgiving and Christmas sometimes it's not going to be an option if you want to work your bird, especially when you're an apprentice. So it's a lot. It takes a lot of sacrifice to do it. Once you know you want to do it and you're part of it, it's like anything else. Shadow somebody for a hunting season. It's going to take years. It's not going to be overnight. You follow somebody where you're like, hey, you're a falconer. Can I go with you to the woods and help you, scare the rabbits out of the bush and stuff like that and see your bird? And, everybody wants to do it until you see a bird hunt. And then it's like, oh my God, it's a little rabbit. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
all nature. You're not doing anything that's not natural. You're doing everything that is natural. That's how they do it. So you have to come through those boundaries that it's like, okay, am I going to be okay with this? And once you do that, and then you're sure you want to do it, not just for like I saw it on TV or something like that, like you put yourself in those situations, you feel it, you see it, you smell it, you start studying for your test, you take your test, you pass your test, you already have, your passing score, you already have what you want, you already know what to do, you start looking for a falconer, and there's different clubs throughout the Southeast United States, there's different Facebook pages, and then you find somebody that's near you. And then, you prove to that person, like, yeah, I want to become a falconer. This is my intention. This is what I want to do. This is my passion, and on and on. And if that person has the time and wants to teach you, then you go from there. Then once he
Yeah.
sponsors you, you send your letter to FWC, and they'll be like, okay, that's your sponsor. This is your start date. And then you go from there. And then you go out to the wild with your sponsor. You trap your bird. You trap it, you train it, you hunt it. And then the next season, you do the same thing again. And
Okay,
that's
so you
how you
actually
begin.
can go out and trap a bird to keep.
Legally, if you're an apprentice, yes,
Wow.
you could do that. Yes, that's how
That's
you. That's the only way to get started.
Yeah.
So, but you have to have your test. You have to already be licensed as
Hmm.
as a apprentice to be able to legally do it. You cannot just go grab a bird, be like, "Oh, I did it. Let's go do it."
Hmm.
And there's rules to that too, where you could get them, the age of the bird, and things like that. So it's like I said, it's a sacrifice. It's going to take a few years to become. It
Yeah.
took me 5 years to become a falconer, but 3 of those years I couldn't get a sponsor, and then I was able to find one. Then I started taking the test. Then I went through all that stuff. So it's not impossible. It's just going to take time.
Take time. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
For sure.
and the dedication for it. It's not going to be. You're not going to have a 40-gallon to keep this bird. You're gonna have to build a cage in the back. You're gonna have to do a lot of things that is, and then FWC comes and inspects you, and there's a lot that goes into it.
Hmm. And that's other topic is like, do you get annual inspections or any surprise inspection from FWCs and stuff like that?
Yeah, because I have class 2, I got class 1, I got venomous, I got my thing, so I do get inspected by FWC a few times a year.
Hmm.
So yeah, it happens. For all your permits, you're gonna get inspected from them. Surprise inspections is not really a thing that everybody's scared of trying it out,
Hmm.
but if you stay legit, who cares? Let them come in. I
Right.
have everything legit. If you don't do something legit, then you can't get
You got
mad and
something to
cry
worry
about it
about.
and be like,
Yeah.
oh, they want to try to take my stuff. Like, you were doing dirty. If you were speeding, you get a ticket. You can't get mad. Like, you knew you were doing. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, when people ask me that, I'm like, listen, you knew what you were doing. Why are you mad or why are you surprised? If you want to play cowboy, but then you got to deal with the consequences just like we do anything else.
Hmm.
But I do get I get my inspections every year. They come here 4 times a year or 2, depending on what my licenses fall in and stuff like that. But yeah, they have to come here. They have to check my venomous. They have to check my crocodilians and my birds and everything else. So
Nice.
it's part of the game.
Yeah.
The
And
good thing is that the
yeah,
permit is free compared to the other permits you have to pay money. The falconing permit is free. It's just a lot of time.
it's a lot of time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
hmm
test is just like a written test. There's no like.
So 100-question test, multiple
Okay.
choice.
Okay.
A lot of stuff there is again common sense that you need to study for.
Hmm.
But it's not difficult if you study for it. It's not that difficult.
Hmm. There's and
So
then once you've done that test and you find your mentor or your sponsor,
sponsor, yeah,
um, is there like a practical test you have to do as well, or is just
that's it. That's it.
that's
Once
it?
you get that your sponsor is going to be your officer basically to be
Mm,
like, okay, after 2 years, you prove yourself that you can hunt a bird, you can take care of a bird, you did what you had to do, what he asked you to do, and blah blah blah.
mm,
So you could become a falconer. So it's up to that relationship you have with him or her.
mm-hmm.
But there's no more tests. It's just one test.
Yeah. And then with working the animals or getting hired, to either the falconry or the shows and stuff like that. How did do people find you, or how does that work?
Well, that all came through social media.
Mm,
Almost 90% of my work comes through social media, from my posts and things like that. And it also helped that I've been around for a few years, and I've been able to build relationships in different situations and help other organizations out, different sanctuaries and things like that. And just being able to network and be professional has guided my business to where it's at. So if you
mm-hmm.
stay straight, you don't screw anybody over. You do what you say you're gonna do, and it's like anything else.
Okay.
So that's how I get most of my work. A lot of word to mouth. I never promoted it and stuff like that, but I I've been okay with that, having to do that just by staying consistent repeat customers and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And for
There's
the
no
hunt,
shows. Go
but
ahead.
for the hunting, like falconry stuff like that, do people privately hire you to like hunt for you to hunt their
Well,
animals, or how does that
that's
work?
different. Not
Yeah.
necessarily. What we do is abatement. So abatement basically is you are using your bird of prey to
Mm-hmm.
scare nuisance birds away from your
Mm-hmm.
situation. So a good example is when you go to a hotel and you're in the pool and you have all the grackles trying to eat your chips and things like that. We bring our hawks and we fire hawks and around that same area, and it creates as a predator. All those are prey. They're gonna leave. So when you do that, plus new rules of staying clean, throw the trash away, don't feed the wildlife, don't do things like that. You create an environment when those birds is like, okay, there's nothing to eat there, and it's not safe for me. There's no reason for me to be there.
Yeah.
So you do that instead of putting out poison and venom and traps and all that other crazy stuff that kills everything but what your intended target is. That's how that works with that. So there you just, you call us, and then we'll see the facility, what the problem is, the area, and things like that. Then they'll go from there.
Yeah, and this just came to my mind. Back a few years ago, I used to work at the FAA, and one of the air traffic controllers was talking about that they had somebody come out to control the pigeons on the airports and stuff like that.
We done that, yeah. No, you fire falcons. Usually, you have dogs that run around the empty grass field to scare the goose and the geese and ducks and all that stuff away, and then you fire a bird. It's the same thing. They don't feel safe. There's predators bothering us. We cannot steal. We cannot eat. We cannot do nothing, and they usually go. And usually, high traffic airports that do that, so there won't be no incidents of birds hitting planes and having crashes. Yeah. But it happens everywhere: pools, resorts, hotels, airports, stadiums, warehouses, everywhere where there's a way to wildlife to get there.
Yeah.
They create a damage.
Do you have to do it again over and over again, or usually when you take care of the problem, they stay away?
It's like everything else. If you don't stay consistent with it, it'll last for a while, but then you're going to have new kids in the neighborhood. They'll be like, oh, this is a safe space, and they'll come there. So it's something that you do throughout the season and things like that, depending on the level of nuisance animals and things like that. In some resorts, you have no choice because in this pool area, you're doing it right, but the people next to your neighbors are very messy, so the animals are still going, back and forth. So every situation is unique, but like in landfills, it's consistent, it's year round. Same thing in landfills.
Yeah. So I have a question from he's one of our customers. He's a pilot. He's asking if there's a best bird to start in falconry.
That's not realistic. Those are things that there's no such thing as what is the right venomous snake to get started with. I'll kill you. So there is no best animal or best bird. How that is determined is by the animals that the law lets you get started with through your mentor. Right? So it's not like, oh, the eagle is going to be no, you're not. It's not going to happen. So usually it's going to be like a red-tailed hawk or a kestrel or something like that. That to your state, your laws, and your sponsor will tell you, okay, this is what you're going to get started with. And it's not your decision to the most part. It's what your sponsor is going to tell you. This is what I'm good at. I've never flown a kestrel. So I might be my apprentice. You really want to fly a kestrel, but what am I going to tell you to do a kestrel because you like it, but I don't know what I'm doing with it. I'm not going to put that for both of us fail. See what I mean? So that's not a. I don't personally, and this is my personal opinion on it. There's no such thing as a right bird to start with. If you start too easy, when it comes hard, you're gonna be stressed out. And if you stay too hard, then you're not gonna want it because it's kicking your ass. See what I mean? Yeah. So it just depends on that situation you're in, on who's your mentor, who's your sponsor, and things like that, and what area you live in, and then you start from there. Once you become a falconer, you do whatever the hell you want. Then you get whatever bird you think you are. Then you can start testing and training, but you're not depending on somebody to teach you something because you want something. You know what I mean? So that's the best. So the best bird to start up with falconry is to do your research and find a sponsor. That will be the first bird. After that, then things will fall in the right place. Hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, for sure. And as when we were beginning with the show, we're talking about Daytona and stuff like that. And you said it was like 1999 when you first went to your first Daytona and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was totally different from what I've heard because it's totally different from what you see today, right?
Yeah. I feel like an old man. Be like, back in my days. But no, Daytona was the biggest show in the country. There was no Facebook. There was nothing. There was none of that stuff. So you saw the big dogs in the world, in the animal world, through magazines. That's where they went. You had, Bob Clark would been there, Peter Cow would been there, and that's the Bob guys that and those guys would show up, and you're like, oh my God, that's this person that you saw all the time on TV or whatever in a magazine, because that's the only way that it happened. And it was different times. Right now it's just the times we live in. I don't have to see you to buy a snake. Back
Correct.
then,
Yeah.
I had to see 2 by 6. So it's different. And now it becomes a place where, you know, I think it's still a great show because you still get to, if you take it for a learning experience, you get a lot of Daytona. And you could get so much of the Daytona by just I don't know what the proper word is, but just humbling yourself to meet the person behind the table,
Hmm.
right? Because that's a place where you can meet one of the greatest people around, Ron St. Pierre, and you can sit down and talk to him and ask questions that you're not going to get the same thing through the internet of just sending an email. You get
Yeah.
to shake that person's hand, see their emotions. So, you know, those guys have been going for 20, 35, 20, 30 years. It's pretty badass to be able to do that.
Yeah.
With, you know, that you're all there for the same thing. You all of us have the passion for animals. We either want to get into new projects, or you want to learn something about a different project, or you're having problems and you want to overcome that hurdle. So it goes, there's so much to get out of it if you want to get out of it, if you want to get that out of it. If not, hey man, it's a great party. It's
Yeah.
a great party.
Yeah.
We've had some crazy parties out there, and you could do both, but you could get a lot of it. You know, for a long time. Listen, I saw my first spider ball python at Daytona. I saw my first pied ball python at Daytona. I saw my first IMG bow. I saw my first, not my first albino, my first motley. You know, I saw a lot of Moors. The first time I ever saw them was at Daytona. You know,
Yeah.
and those are memories I'll take that, you know, forever, because that doesn't happen like that anymore.
And was it always mainly reptiles, strictly reptiles
Yeah,
for the most part?
as,
Okay.
as when I remember it, yeah, there was never a lot of other stuff, but you had reptiles, you had, you know, the newest morphs out there, the newest animal or stuff like that. You thought when there be, you had all that. That's the place where you go see them. You're not gonna see the stuff that we into. You're not gonna go see it at a zoo.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go to Miami Zoo and see a hognose exhibit.
Nah. Yeah, for sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you gonna see it at Daytona.
Mhm.
You see what I mean? So,
Mhm.
as far as back as I can remember, yeah, that's all there was is reptiles, and you get to see people that you saw on TV and animals that you thought when they even exist, and different morphs and different everything, hybrids and everything else. That's the place to go see it.
Yeah.
More back then than now, because right now, by the time you see the animal in real life, you've already seen it 50 times online.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but
One of the first times, was it last year or the year before that? I think it was last year. You had some Galapagos tortoises,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That was my first time seeing babies in person and stuff like that.
yes.
Um,
The
so
lobster has been, that was another animal that I thought I will never, in my wildest dream,
yeah,
I thought I would ever even see one or touch one. Right.
yeah,
And that changed. You know, I've been very, very lucky to be very close with 3Js, with Jason Abels and John Heidecker, that they, you know, they're one of the biggest producers in the state of Galapagos tortoises. And I've been able to be around them. And I have one right now. I could go get him if you want me to, but I have one that's, his name is Angus. And this little feller, I caught the egg when the mom was laying him.
that's cool.
And it hatched in my hand too. So he'll be with me for, I'll never see him be an adult,
Yeah,
but that's these, and I've had that opportunity, which is something that I could never in my wildest dream even. I didn't thought I was going to catch a turtle egg just to begin with, a tortoise egg just to begin
yeah,
with. But yeah, I mean, Daytona was the first time I saw an albino alligator was at Daytona too. You know, there was so many animals I could count that if I really start thinking about it, that I saw the first time there. And yeah, Wayne Hill had the galops in there. Jerry
Mhm.
Mata and 3J Sean Heidecker always had their galops there, the babies, and it's so amazing how small they are to how big they get.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like if you're an animal person and like thinking about like watching Nat Geo, the Animal Planet and stuff like that when I was younger, like
Hmm.
the Galapagos Islands and stuff like that, like you said, I never thought that I was gonna be able to see a baby firsthand and stuff like that. It's one of
Hmm.
those like to me was always one of those unattainable animals.
Yeah, yeah,
So
100%. I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, there's no way in hell, because you only see them at a zoo. Like, oh my god, you have to be a zoo.
mhm,
You need to have all these crazy things to be able to have them, and or even to even know somebody that has them.
mhm,
You know, now I'm pretty good friends with a group of people that produce almost 400 of them.
yeah,
You know, it's like it's like I can't say it's a dream come true because it's never a dream, but it was never a thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things that you see, like, all right,
Yeah.
maybe,
It's like,
but I'm gonna get my Redfoot, and
yeah.
I love Redfoot's death. You know what I'm saying? But it was just like, okay, I know this one I could afford and I could be with,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know anybody that has this besides the big zoos.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
it still sometimes doesn't feel real. Sometimes I do things, I go to places, and I'm like, this is no way to hell this is my life.
Yeah.
Like
For sure.
it's pretty rewarding.
What's the situation with the Galapagos tortoise door and being like protected and stuff like that?
Well, they're just like the radiated tortoise and a lot of the animals. They're under the society. It's like, well, you cannot sell them over state lines. You cannot gain financial gain on it. So you only have to either buy them here from Florida, or if they get out of the state, through different laws, you could gift them to somebody. Like, here's a gift without getting any financial things out of it. So it makes it very difficult because it dwindles the pool, the bloodlines and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, a lot of animals are like that, with outdated laws.
Mm.
Nobody. I'm sure it happens once in a billion times, but they're not getting smuggled in or poached or anything like that from the
Right.
Galapagos Islands. Like they were at one point where things were stricter and technology was less good as it is right now. Same thing with, radiated and some crocodilians and some snakes and things like that. You can't do it with.
Mm-hmm. Especially you mentioned you have people that are producing hundreds and stuff of that a year and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So there's plenty
it's gonna
out
come to
there.
a point. Yeah, but then at the same time when that happens, play devil's advocate, then you have the person that doesn't have the finances to afford a $5,000 animal.
Mm-hmm.
Could get it at some point. You still have to have bank to take care of it because
Mm-hmm.
those things eat like crazy. My baby
And the
galopsis as
space.
much as the and there's
Yeah.
space for them. Yeah, so the opportunity will come in, but in a business sense, you kind of get it like damn it, I'm stuck. So then you have to do if you stop breeding, you could stop breeding for 1 or 2 years, but then there's not going to be no more.
Mm.
So then you're still going to go back to the same problem of like trying to people doing not too smart things to get them around.
Yeah.
So there is a lose-lose with it.
Yeah.
I don't see nothing positive about doing the state things. We're in the same country. There's the same place. They're not going over different countries or overseas or anything else like that. So I don't think that's a smart law, and it's not solving any problems. I don't see it as solving any problems. Just
Mm-hmm.
creating problems for people trying to make a buck doing things they're not supposed to do, or you water down the bloodline because for whatever reason it is. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't
And
think anybody's taking a 200-pound galops and bringing them over here.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then
Mhm.
with the tortoise, the Galapagos and stuff like that, and then the birds too, they have a really long lifespan, right? Like,
Some of them do, yeah. Well, it's like something with tortoises. Not every tortoise is going to live to 150 years old.
mm-hmm,
Just like not every bird is going to live to 150
mm-hmm,
years old. Well, it all depends on the species, the health, what you're feeding it, the universe. There's a lot of things that come into play to be like, okay, this animal is going to be X old or things like that. You know what I mean? So, like my birds, they could live into their 20s or 30s.
okay,
You know what I mean? Right now, they're not there yet, but hopefully, I'll be there with them to get that old.
mm-hmm, yeah.
So it all
That's another
depends.
thing, talking about research and stuff like that. Seeing, the species of bird or whatever that you want to get is the
Mhm.
lifespan on the commitment you have to make to that bird, right?
Exactly. Same thing with galop. Like galops, it takes them 20 to 25 years to be mature,
Mm-hmm,
right? So if you get a baby, you're not going to know the sex into is much older. You already have a lot of years into it. Then when it comes to that point, it still takes the males 1 or 2 years to figure out how to get the job done. So it's a very long commitment to you see your first
yeah,
baby out of it.
yeah.
It's a long time.
That
So, but the
is,
meanwhile, if I'm 42 by the time Angus gets mature, I probably have Alzheimer's sitting at home watching Deadpool. You know what I'm saying? I don't know clue what the hell he's doing. So,
yeah,
I'll never see it, but the time that I was with him growing up, I'm gonna enjoy that every single day.
mm-hmm.
Every single day. You still have to love it for what it is. But I
So
know that.
yeah,
But
with the sex, how does that work?
uh, well, it takes them. They're so big that it takes them a long time to find the sex of. You can find out through endoscoping it. You got to go in there and find what
Mm-hmm,
plumbing system they got going on. And other times you just gotta wait until one day, like, oh, it's a boy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my
Some,
radiators. I walked
yeah.
outside one day. It's like, oh well, we got one boy. And you mark, that one is a boy, and then you gotta wait for it until they get mature enough where you start seeing the signs of the
Yeah.
shell, and the scoots and the tail and things like that. So
Gotcha.
it's just time. It's all time
Yeah.
and very long time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The one you said that you have, that Angus. Though is the one
Yeah,
that you caught.
yeah.
Okay. And what size is it
Yeah.
already? What's the size of it?
He's little. Let me go grab him real quick,
Yeah.
and I'll show you how
Yeah.
big this little guy is right now.
For
Hold
sure.
on one second.
We got while Lewis is grabbing his Galapagos. Make sure you guys subscribe. Comment down if you guys have a question. Throw it down so we can ask Lewis about it. The birds, the reptiles he's kept and stuff. Um, you know, and if you're going to Daytona, make sure you go check us out. All right, there
Okay,
we
wait,
go.
hold on one second. Let me show you something a little different.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, this guy is such a trip, man. Such a trip. And I got something from him that I think is so damn cool that I was able to do this. So this is little Angus right here.
there we go.
Yeah, it's just a
Put you
little
on
guy like
solo
this.
mode real quick.
Yeah. There he goes.
He's cool, man.
And then I have this, which is his actual eggshell.
That's cool.
And then on the back, I have his information. He was laid on 1/2/23, and he picked at 4/21/23.
Okay.
So, and his mother was Jax, and he was that orange line. So, I have this guy's whole entire history, including his eggshell. I have it together forever.
So he's just a little over a year.
Yeah,
How small was he when he hatched?
bro, he was a size. Oh man, he was so small. Like if I gotta send you a picture of it, he
Yeah.
was small, man. He was like the size of half the size of a tennis. Like he was little, like
Mm-hmm.
a redfoot. Like they're not born very big. What's
Yeah.
up, Anderson? What's his cactus? Right, little buddy?
So I mean, he's grown pretty good amount. They get from
Oh
within
yeah,
a year too.
oh yeah. They grow up fairly good, but it takes them. I mean, right now he's what, maybe a pound if that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, but they're gonna get to 300 pounds if he's a male.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not know his sex for who knows how long.
Yeah. At what point
But
are you gonna have to put him outside? I guess depends on his size.
yeah, depending on his size. Usually I will put him out there. Jesus Christ, I get you all over the place. Gianna, I will probably put him around maybe when he gets like half the size, like a little bigger. I'll
Yeah.
put him I build a box out there that is covered all the way around with mesh and he's safe. And that's when he'll be going outside for a little bit and stuff, and in the winters I bring him in, and that'll be the routine with him until he's able to live outside by himself.
Yeah.
So
That
maybe by
motion.
next summer.
Okay. That motion he's doing with his head, is that like a behavioral thing, or is just him moving around?
Just saying what's up. I'm holding him, so he's like trying to get away and stuff and
Yeah.
moving around.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I
But
think
honestly,
they're so
I'm on
impressive.
TV,
Even at that
bro.
little, that small,
Yeah.
they're cool
No,
animals.
Gianna. No, there's some cool things about them, and there's so many different things. Like they say, hold on,
Yeah.
can you give me a napkin, please? Angus decided to go potty. Um, um, they do have such a crazy personality, but one of the coolest things about these guys, in my opinion, is that there's a myth. I don't know how I've been told this for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
E.T. was built out of this character.
I could definitely see that.
So when they go finching and they stick all their head up and all the way up in their head and
Yeah.
everything else, it looks 100% like a Galapagos tortoise.
Yeah, I
So-
could definitely see that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
he doesn't know where home is, but he'll definitely get there.
Yeah. That's cool.
Right, everybody? Yeah, no, these guys, I love them. Their personality, they're one of the few tortoises that will actually stop eating for attention. They do a lot of cool stuff. I like them. Let me put him away because
Yeah,
he
go
was
ahead.
sleeping right now. So just give me one quick second.
And
Oh.
viewers,
Go ahead.
no, show them I'm gonna bring up your website real quick while you're putting them away, uh, so people can see, where they can find you. And
Yeah, easiest way to get me is through my Instagram.
okay,
Send me a private message. I answer all the messages. I'm the one that runs it. So that'll be the easiest way to get me. And then you see there all the animals that we have that we could do and access to and everything else. So we do everything from school, birthday parties, weddings, everything.
yeah,
Leo's been the best man at 4 weddings, and Maya's been a maid of honor, and they do the ring bearers. They've done a little bit of everything.
that's cool. That's cool. So we have a question, Amanda.
Yeah.
What's your next bird you want?
Oh man, I really want. There's two birds that I really want. Which one will be a king vulture
Mhm.
or a southern ground hornbill. I think they're cool.
Okay.
Odds of me getting it very slim, but not impossible. But those are the two on the top right now. That I want to get.
Yeah. Are those like your dream birds that you want, or is
No,
there? No.
like I said, the dream bird is like
Yeah.
as long as it's not a parrot, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
They're just too loud and they bite hard as hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like honestly, it'll be something that when that time comes and it's presented to me, that I see it and I'm like, man, this is pretty amazing, and I could know that I could take care of it and do what I got to do with it and be successful with it. Then it'll get to that point. But right now, like I said, I'm very lucky, man. I literally have every animal that I thought I could never have. I have. Not saying that it's a lot, but just been a few animals, and I'm happy with my collection.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. I'm comfortable with it, and there's really not like why add more right at this point in my life,
Mhm.
So if the opportunity comes, whenever that animal comes out and it catches my attention, then that day will be like, oh, that's my dream bird. Just I had a dream that I wanted it right now.
I hear that. Yeah.
That's what I would go. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's like I said, man. I've been the things that happened to me in my life. I just been at the right place at the right time with the right people around me. I had to give it up to my team and the people that supported me. That are have allowed me to continue doing what I'm doing in a happy place.
Mhm.
And just gotta be grateful for the people around you, man. But that's
Yeah.
the best way I could explain it.
Yeah. I gotta start wrapping it up. But with Daytona coming this weekend, are you gonna be there? What, Saturday, Sunday, or just Saturday?
Me and Blake are gonna be there Saturday all day. We should
Okay.
get there. Hopefully, I don't know, I think 10 or 11 or something like that. But
Yeah.
we'll be there Saturday, and then once probably the show ends or whatnot, we're coming home. So I'll be there just Saturday. So if anybody sees me out there, just come by, say what's up.
Hmm.
Um, I would love to meet anybody that's going to be around and say what's up. And I'll
Yeah.
be in your table, man, messing with you.
For sure, man.
Making,
Yeah.
I had to give you a hard time. I had to give
I hear that.
Vaseline and the boys a hard
Yeah.
time, and Tiki and Gabe. I want to see what Splash is because I'm going to splash him with some water.
Yeah, man. With so many Daytonas you've been to and stuff like that,
Yeah.
do you have anything in mind, like, you're looking to see this year, anything like that? Any specific animal or anything, or is it just going and
My
hanging out? Yeah.
well, my goal at Daytona is just to see my old friends. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really don't want to buy anything, although there's going to be a lot of amazing animals. There's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
amazing vendors and
Hmm.
brand new morphs and high
Yeah.
quality animals and things like that. Um, so and there's a million things that I would like to get, but realistically, I have a lot to take care of as it is. So adding something just for the heck of it is not an option at this moment.
Hmm.
But I enjoy the atmosphere, man. It's been happening for so long, and I've grown up. A lot of the old timers have seen me growing up, so it's good to see them once a year. At least the camaraderie, the family of being Daytona, where people have gone for so long, and that's my main thing, man. Just enjoy the time there, see my friends, see new people coming up to the business, and like I said, we've talked about it before. The people that I've seen grow from not much to where they are right now. That
Yeah.
to me, that brings me joy, man. I
Mhm.
love seeing that. Seeing you grow, next to Ashley with one little 2 or 3 deli cups, and now
Yeah.
you're bending. This is your first Daytona bending.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool, bro. Like,
It
you know what I'm
is,
saying?
man.
Like,
It is.
I've bended Daytona once, and when I remember when I bended, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I'm bending at Daytona.
Yeah.
Just because I got there for so long, and to see you guys grow up, and not grow up, but like, grow your
Grow within the
business.
reptile. Yeah. Yeah.
It's freaking dope because you don't see that often. There's not many worlds that you could see some peers go from friends to be like, bro, do you know who that is? You know what I'm saying? I think that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
So damn cool.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited. It's funny because like, sending the application to Wayne and waiting for the vendor list to come out and waiting,
Yeah.
and that whole process was really exciting to do, and now
Oh yeah, it is.
Friday, going to set up and stuff like that. It's cool too. Like, I think about my daughters and stuff like that, they're really into it, saying, hey, we
Yeah.
vended Daytona, and stuff like that. And like
Yeah,
them having
exactly.
this conversation, however many years later on and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
it's cool because I'm having it right now with you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, I think it's such a cool thing, and I hope Daytona's around forever. I hope Win Hill and those guys are around for a long time because they have been pioneers. They have made this so many memories, whether at the show or the after parties.
Yeah.
It's always been like, this is it, and
Mhm.
and for the older guys, this is their only vacation a year.
Mhm.
Like, this is it. There's only show they do a year. They bring their families. Their kids have grown up at Daytona. They knew that the third week of August is going to be a party.
Yeah.
It's going to be Daytona, and I think it's good. I think it's good, especially everything going so technology based that when you get a face to face, and I don't want to talk down on other shows, but like, it's more than just 3 tables
Yeah.
at a different show with the same characters. Like, you see people come from different states, different cities, people you
And
never see.
the longevity of it, man.
It speaks for itself. It
Yeah.
speaks for itself. I think it's going to be busy. I think it's going to be a lot of people there.
Mhm.
I believe that sales are going to be good. I think it's going to be an overall very good Daytona. But at the end of the day, each individual will make it what they wanted to make it if you get what you
100%.
want from it. And excuse me, all that is obtainable. It's just you have to choose. You want to go fuck around, or you want to learn and educate yourself and grow.
Yeah.
That's the choices you have there.
Yeah, man.
And forget the BS politics of that person and this person. And I'm like, listen, man, just have fun, man. See an animal you've never seen, a morph you've never seen, buy something real cool. And even the one that the part, and I don't read books. I'm not really a big reader, obviously. But the guy I forget his name, but he sells the books in the corner every single year.
Yep.
Dude, there's books that you're never gonna find in a bookstore.
Yeah.
And man, I forget that guy, the older gentleman that has those amazing wood carvings.
Oh, I forget his name. Last year I
When
got my
that guy,
girls. Yeah.
when that guy's not around, you're never gonna see that to that level again. That's stuff that will be with you forever, and you're not gonna see it any other show. Like, things like that, I think are pretty cool.
Yeah. Last year I got my
Because
girls little toke carvings.
Yes,
And it's cool because like he tells you how to, like, okay, he goes, grab a little, the small little, nails, put it on the wall, and then you hang it. And if you do, and you walk into a room and you see that thing, you're like, you
think it's
double
real.
take, you're like, hold on, is that thing real?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That
It's
guy's
so cool.
amazing. He's such a talented man. But let's be honest, they're not gonna be around for another 100 years.
Yep.
So those things, little things like that, like, you know what? If he's still there, shake his hand
Yeah.
and get something that's gonna last you forever. His quality of work is amazing. It's so second to none.
It is, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this year I'm probably gonna grab a bigger piece from him because, like you said, you don't know what life brings and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And if you can grab one of those, I think that's like a like almost like Daytona history, right? You grab one of those things like, oh man, I grabbed this.
100%. You will always know that in Daytona 2024,
Yep.
you got that thing forever. And I think that's so amazing. And saying hi to the old timer, just giving those guys their flowers. You
Mhm.
give them the respect of, like, I wouldn't know this morph, or this morph would never have been found if it wasn't for you. And knowing the history of our industry. That's something that gets put to the side because so many people involved with it and everybody wants to be the first. And it's cool to be the first one to produce a morph. I think it's pretty exciting.
Mhm.
But how the recipe to make that is
Yeah.
started from somebody else.
Yeah.
And knowing that and appreciating that, I think is we have to do it. It's just respect for those people that been doing it forever, because we wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah,
You know.
and like you said, especially to nowadays with the technology and all that stuff like that, it's been a word of mouth thing, right? Like I call this
Yeah.
person and you talk to them and you learn
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I got a very funny, not funny, but really cool thing because talk about Daytona. Wayne Hill,
Yeah.
being the person he is, and I was vending uh Repticon Orlando 2 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he
So I
stops
saw
by
you
the
last
table.
there.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
he stops by the table, and I've never really like talked to him face to face and stuff like that, just over the phone. Now that vending, and he had a
Mhm.
Daytona shirt on. I was like, just talking to him like a regular, person come up to the table. I was like, "Are you going to Daytona too?" He goes, "Oh, I'm Wayne Hill." I go, "Oh, what's up, Wayne Hill?"
Oh shit. He's a normal dude. He's a normal
Yeah.
dude.
I go, "What's up, man?" I go, it's like it's pretty cool to see you out here, coming to the shows. He goes, "Yeah, I like coming out." He goes, and he says, he tells me, he goes, "I really like your setup." He goes, "You're vending this year." I go, "Yeah." So he goes, "I look forward to seeing you there." So it was pretty cool to see that from
Yeah,
him.
you get that. That's gonna live with you forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's you work hard and it
Yep.
shows. I mean, like I said, I've seen you grow.
Yeah.
In the past years or two, and it's you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're
Appreciate it.
sticking with it. You got the
Yeah.
people around you. You have a spectacular product. Your
Mm-hmm.
mentors are second to none people that I
Mm-hmm.
have a highly respect for, including yourself. And bro, it shows that the fruit
Yeah.
of your hard labor is blooming right now, and
Yeah.
I think it's pretty badass.
Yeah. It's really exciting this year, man. And doing 3 years into Daytona and like really being 3 years into like really the reptile world. Like I'm thinking about this year, it's like how many people I have made connections with, even with
Hmm.
the past year, how many more people I've made connections with that I might see them for the first time in person.
Yeah,
Instead of just
yeah,
texting or through Instagram posts and stuff like that. That's really cool. I
yeah.
think.
It's
Um,
amazing because
yeah.
I still think I thank you with a handshake goes a lot further than an
Yep.
email.
100%. Yeah.
I'm old as fuck, so it's like to me, word is bond. So I like to see that reaction because you get emotional and you're always gonna remember the first time you met some of these people that you have relationships. And like
Hmm.
with me personally in my life, with Simon that taught me a lot of stuff. I was never able to meet him,
Hmm.
so I'm never gonna forget that because shit, you should have been here.
Hmm.
But everybody else, I'm fortunate enough that I'm gonna be with Craig,
Hmm.
and everybody else, and I'm gonna see Eslin, I'm gonna see my other good friends, Mike Loretta, those guys that I spent all the time with, and this is a time like this. It's
Yeah.
a good place to do it in an environment where we all are there for the same exact thing.
Yeah,
So have a
man.
good time,
Yeah.
sell some stuff, being able to pay the phone bill on Monday, and just to make memories for the rest of our days.
For sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you know, just for people that are going to go Daytona, our tables are going to be 418, 419 in the main room. So it's that last row facing the back wall. So if you guys are there, stop by our table and stuff like that. Um, you know, looking forward to seeing you there, Lewis, and talking on Saturday.
Yeah, man,
I'm
I'll
not,
definitely see you. You're gonna be there with the whole family, right?
so it's just me and the kids. The
Oh
wife is
man, so you have
traveling for
you have
work.
no chaperone?
No, I have no chaperone. The kids.
Oh, those kids as bad as you, bro. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna end up in the damn in the what's that called, a trampoline thing
Oh,
on the catwalk down there, man.
oh yeah. What's the thing is like going to the auction without the wife.
Oh my god, that is dangerous because you're gonna get dad. You could do it.
Yep.
You could get it.
Yep.
We won't tell
100%.
mom. And as soon as you
100%.
buy it, mom, guess what dad did?
Yep. 100%. I already thought about that. So that's
Oh
another cool
yeah.
thing. Like if this is your first Daytona, and you have time in
Stick
the
for the
year,
auction.
go
And
to the
and at
auction.
night too, you have all the seminars. Look at that because
Yeah,
there's gonna be a
Friday.
lot of
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
Friday.
lot of very important people, respected people, a lot of knowledgeable
Mhm.
stuff, and you're gonna learn something about it in some way or another. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I want to, closing this out, I want to bring up, your website because I was looking at it the other day. Um, really good website. It drove my attention. I went through it here. One thing that we didn't touch base today, but did draw my attention when I was looking at the wildlife trips and stuff like that.
Yes. Well, those we used to do them. We don't do them as much as
Okay.
now as before.
Yeah.
But Unanimous Tours is run by a name like Fabio Morisi, which he is an amazing second to none animal trainer, amazing guy. And if you ever want to plan a trip out of the country, even in the country, he will make it happen. He's taken me to Belize a bunch of times. He's taken me to across the country, and it's always been an amazing experience. You know, I went 2 times. We took a group of people to San Diego Zoo, San Diego Wildlife Park, LA, and man, we got to do some pretty cool things in a bunch of little cool places, man. So if you ever want to do a trip like that,
Yeah.
where everything's taken care of, that Fabio will definitely help you out with that, and it is worth it because he takes care of. He does a lot of trips and a lot of tours, so you know he knows what's a safe place to go, what the idea is, the timetable, the plane, everything is taken care of by him and his company. So it's definitely a pretty cool spot, pretty cool organization and person to know, and you want to travel.
Yeah, well, I definitely have to have you on again for round 2, and we're gonna dive deep
Oh,
into
100%,
like
man.
your trips, because I know you've traveled a good amount and seen some really cool stuff. So I definitely want to dive into that stuff. And closing out with, if somebody wants to book you and stuff for that, the best way to reach you is through your Instagram.
Through Instagram, you got my
Okay.
email there. Same thing here. Just send me a
Mhm.
shout, and I answer everything myself. And yeah, we'll look forward to meeting you guys. And we do everything from schools to weddings to birthday parties. Like there's really not much that we haven't done. Um, in a safe and good environment.
Okay. Cool.
So we
Cool.
do great. Appreciate
Um,
it.
yeah, your links are, if you guys are looking for him and you guys are watching the YouTube or on the audio platforms, the links to his website and his Instagram are listed. So go check that out as well. Go follow him on Instagram. And if you're looking for,
Cool, man.
even a birthday party, right? You do birthday parties and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, everything, man.
Okay.
Everything. Yeah, we do everything
Cool.
that has to do it with the animals. We will be able to accomplish. We're insured, have our permits. Everything is legit, professional, and we look forward to it.
Okay. Cool. Cool, man. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for
I'll see
having me.
you. Yeah, I'll see you
It's been
Saturday,
a blast,
and
man.
looking forward to more conversations and stuff like that. Thank you everybody for watching tonight and supporting us, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.
And one thing before
Yeah,
we
go
head
ahead.
out, I want to give a big shout out to Nick. That's my right hand man when I'm doing my shows, and
Mm,
the kid I never wanted, Fadi. Those guys in the past 2 years have been able to make my life easy. They travel with me to do the shows. They help me take care of my animals whenever I need them. Um, they've done a lot for me, and also my wife and child Gianna. They they tolerate all my crazy bullshit. So I wouldn't be here without them. So I want to give them a lot of big shout out, and thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And
yeah,
thank
man.
you for having me and all my mentors. Thank you.
That's cool, man. I always say, so without a support system, it's hard to reach success and reach the peak of what you're doing.
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's,
We couldn't do it. This is not a
yeah,
solo trip.
yeah,
No, solo trips, it wouldn't be impossible. It wouldn't happen at all. I don't care who you
for
are.
sure.
It might happen for a weekend, but not for a few
For a
years.
long time, yeah. I hear
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
All right,
So
guys.
thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
man, for sure.
Later, man.
Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you guys on the next one.